Is Monty in the Morning, the show Phoenix Magazine readers voted #1 talk radio show in Arizona.
#1 during your morning commute.
#1 whenever news breaks during your day.
And #1 whenever and wherever you want to talk sports.
Now it's time for Monty in the Morning.
Hey, yo, man, this is Monty in the Morning. How the heck are you? On Tuesday, August 30th, 2022. Just 3 more sleeps.
Yes.
To hot chicks in bikinis in Hawaii.
Yes.
Our girlfriends and wives will be there too. But anyway, the point is...
You get the point.
We're going to Hawaii on Friday. It's going to be amazing. And RJ Barrett's not coming to the Utah Jazz.
What?
Had you heard that
What?
before? I know that's breaking news. We'll talk all about it. I know it's what everybody's talking about, thinking about this morning. Is the Donovan Mitchell trade dead? Can the Knicks and Utah Jazz figure it out? Are the New York Knicks the best dance partner for the Utah Jazz when it comes to Donovan Mitchell? We'll talk all about that. And by the way, I think one of the biggest questions now is what's next for the Utah Jazz? Can the Utah Jazz bring Donovan Mitchell to training camp? All of that straight ahead on the show. You've got to hear this Aaron Rodgers interview he did on the Joe Rogan show this week. I just don't know why he continues to go on that show, because every time he does, it seems like it's controversial. Jake, are you an Aaron Rodgers guy?
No, I'm not an Aaron Rodgers guy, and we'll get to that.
Not at all.
No.
Wow.
Nope.
And one of the things we want to talk about today is, do you trust the media? Because whether it's this Donovan Mitchell deal, there was a small story that maybe you heard about at BYU and volleyball, and
Yeah.
nobody asked about that yesterday at football. Like crazy swings in media credibility. Do you trust the media? And frankly, the most important story of the day is s'mores. Camping only, or can you make them in the kitchen?
Right.
All right, let's move on. Come on, s'mores.
S'mores and
It's
and
national. Did
stuff
you know
and-
it's National Toasted S'mores Day?
Yeah.
I think most people do. All right, don't forget we're sending a pair of listeners to see BYU and Notre Dame at the Shamrock Series in Las Vegas. Super excited about this. This is a home stretch now. So if you want to go and see BYU and Notre Dame in Las Vegas and stay at the Palms for 2 nights, get 2 tickets to the game. A $250 gas card to get you there. All you have to do is go to any of the 5 Utah locations of the barbecue pit stop, baby. Logan, Layton, Lehigh, St. George, and of course our good friends right here in Salt Lake City, Murray. They all have a box on their counter. All you have to do is put there's a little slip. Fill it out, put your slip in the box, and then join us at the barbecue pit stop in Lehigh on Saturday, September 17th. We'll be watching BYU in Oregon live from Eugene. And at halftime of that game, we are going to pull the winner of the trip for 2 to the Shamrock Series in Las Vegas to see BYU and Notre Dame. Now, I also want to remind you that we have partnered with Papa Murphy's Pizza on this event.
Hell yeah, we have.
So we're going to be smoking pizza on Traegers, Yoders, Big Green Eggs. It's going to be amazing. Papa Murphy's, as we told you, is our favorite pizza to make on a Traeger smoker. You put all your favorite toppings on it. You slide it on the smoker for 25 minutes, and it comes out delish. You want to try it? You've never tried it? Come on out to the barbecue pit stop in Lehigh on Saturday, September 17th. We'll have Papa Murphy's Pizza there. We'll have wings there for you, and we're going to give away a trip for 2 to see BYU and Notre Dame at the Shamrock Series. Without further ado, what is going on with the Utah Jazz and the New York Knicks? This is obviously the story of the day. This is what everybody's talking about as the news broke yesterday. Probably about midday, maybe noontime, we had the news for you that the Utah Jazz had access to 4 first-round picks, unprotected first-round picks. But the only thing left to do to make that deal happen with the Knicks, the Lakers, and the Jazz was to figure out what the compensation would be coming from the Knicks. As I tweeted yesterday on the show, it was simply a matter of trying to figure out what the New York Knicks were willing to give up. And Jake, as it turns out, they still, as we've reported for a month now, the New York Knicks were not willing to put Quentin Grimes into this deal. And that ultimately was the issue, is that the Knicks and the Jazz could not get together on what compensation the Jazz would get from the Knicks. Did the Knicks do the right thing in extending RJ Barrett here?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Knicks have done the right thing in sort of controlling, expectations and controlling, what they're going to try and provide to the Lakers and the Jazz in this deal. I think that the Knicks are in control here from the standpoint of what they're willing to give up. And I think the commitment to Quentin Grimes is one that I think is well done. I think that when you think about who Quentin Grimes could be, when you think about what value he could bring to a franchise and really your franchise, I think it's a smart move. Now, again, I'm going to keep saying that you're banking on, young talent now to develop and to turn into what you need them to be to make this decision valid. And that's what I think you're ultimately, that's sort of like the risk reward factor that you have to weigh. But I think it's not a bad decision to be committed to keeping Quentin Grimes in your organization. And I think that this conversation about, hey, if we give up, Grimes, and let's say they were to have given up Barrett before this extension just got signed. If we're to give up a lot of this young talent to get Donovan Mitchell, I just don't know that makes us a championship caliber team. And furthermore, even now, if you do the Donovan Mitchell deal, I still wonder, are you a championship caliber team after you add Donovan Mitchell to that mix? I think a lot of people are wondering that. But on the flip side of that, if you don't do the deal, you're definitely not a championship caliber team. So that to me is sort of the struggle here. The problem is that there's no incentive for the Jazz to do this deal other than, picks and, what have you, draft compensation essentially. And I think right now for the Utah Jazz, you're potentially a playoff team right here today. You could scratch into the playoffs right here today. So I think there's a lot of factors at play, but I don't blame them for locking up RJ Barrett. He's one of the better players on your roster. He is loved by the fan base. There's really no reason not to do it, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and I think $120 million when you talk about a player that's 22 years old is not a lot of money, but oddly, the average annual value of that deal could be up to $30 million, depending on what RJ Barrett hits as far as bonuses, which include All-NBA, All-Star selections, etc. That's almost the exact same average annual value that Donovan Mitchell is getting from the Jazz on his rookie extension. But I also think the thing that you have to remember is the poison pill exception that goes along with rookie extensions. And the really in this particular rookie extension is the right way to say that. If you don't know what the poison pill exemption is basically what it means is that the team that would trade for RJ Barrett before that rookie extension kicks in. So if the Jazz were to, let's say, make a deal with the Knicks and they were to acquire RJ Barrett, they would not only have to pay what he is getting right now, but against their cap, it would be this and the rookie extension per year that would count against the cap. So it's exponentially more expensive to trade for RJ Barrett before that rookie extension kicks in a year from now. So it makes RJ Barrett almost unattainable in this trade. But this seems to be the argument that a lot of people have had, and we've talked openly about this on the show, that Danny Ainge does not want to pay RJ Barrett. And Adrian Wojnarowski, ESPN, is the first one to have this. All due credit that they were extending RJ Barrett. And I think the thing that Woj pointed out that we've talked about on this show for an extensively long time is that RJ Barrett is not critical to getting this deal done.
Facts.
The guy that's critical to getting this deal done is Quentin Grimes, and the Knicks to date have not showed a willingness to trade or include Quentin Grimes in a deal for Donovan Mitchell. This is no longer about how many unprotected picks Danny Ainge can get. This is, as I tweeted yesterday, about what compensation Danny's going to get in return from the Knicks. And that's why this whole bravado and this whole thing where Adrian Wojnarowski at ESPN is reporting that the Knicks put a Monday night deadline on this. It is not coincidental that we found out yesterday afternoon, as I showed in that tweet a moment ago, and I think that was let me put that back up for you, at 1:13 in the afternoon yesterday, I tweeted that, hey, NBA sources tell me the Utah Jazz have access to 4 unprotected first-round picks in a multi-team deal, including the Lakers and the Knicks. The teams are working on total compensation and player swaps. And then I also said the biggest question remaining is what the Knicks are willing to give up and which Jazz veterans go out in this trade. And I think the biggest hindrance in getting that deal done was, in fact, Quentin Grimes and that young compensation that the Knicks have. But Jake, we've also talked about this. I think it was time for the Knicks to do what Leon Rose did. And I will continue to give kudos to Leon Rose because I believe he has handled this exceptionally well. It would have been easy for Leon Rose to cave on this. It would have been easy to say, hey, you know what? Donovan Mitchell's that superstar that we've been chasing in New York for 10 years.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and overpay for him. In fact, the Knicks did not do that, and I tip my cap to Leon Rose for that because I don't think this is a deal that's make or break right now today in 2022-23 for the Knicks.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of a reflection on, in some ways, on Don as a player. Like, I think if the conversation was, we're trying to do a deal for Kevin Durant or we're trying to do a deal for LeBron, then I think everybody would have no problem overpaying to get the deal done. But because this is Donovan Mitchell, someone who is a 3-time All-Star, but someone who has not done much winning yet in the biggest stages, I think it changes the conversation. It changes the leverage points. It changes, what you're willing to give up and frankly, what Danny Ainge, how Danny Ainge has to operate and in the way he uses the leverage he has. So I think that, by extending RJ Barrett, when we talk about this from a negotiating standpoint, by extending RJ Barrett, you're just simply saying to Danny Ainge, hey, we're not desperate to get this deal done, from our side of the phone call. We're saying, hey, we're committed to keeping Grimes in the organization. Obviously, we're committed to RJ Barrett financially now. But I think as we've gone on basically the whole summer in this conversation and you've watched the show and you've seen how this has evolved, Quentin Grimes really has been this sticking point. You've heard about Obi Toppin or Evan Fournier or some of these other guys that might be included to get the deal done, but Quentin Grimes is the guy that Danny Ainge covets and, frankly, Leon Rose covets. And so if you're Leon Rose and you're not willing to give that up, then I think ultimately the deal probably isn't getting done right this second. I think what ends up happening, and again, this is just my opinion, not going off of like sourced information or, hey, people told us this is just strictly my opinion, that I think that it's going to be a waiting game. I think that if I'm Leon Rose, I want to wait and see what Donovan Mitchell turns into. I want to wait and see that 30-point version of Donovan Mitchell because, frankly, the Knicks are not in a position to take a risk on Donovan Mitchell. The position that they need to be in is we need to sign a bona fide, no doubt about it, like 28 to 30-point a night guy. And then from there, we can finish this roster and build out a championship contender.
Well, and I think the other thing that kind of validates the reporting that we've had over the last week or so, especially what we had yesterday afternoon, was this Woj tweet right here. Last night at 9:10, he said, New York's Leon Rose set a Monday night deadline with Utah to reach an agreement on a trade for Mitchell, or the Knicks would commit to a Barrett extension. But look at this last line. The Knicks and Jazz closed the gap on a deal, on deal points, Knicks and Jazz closed gap on deal points in recent days on a Mitchell trade, but neither would go further. And I think that's why when you read this tweet, you know that we've talked about how the Lakers have wanted to be a third team in this Lakers, Jazz, Knicks triumvirate trying to get that deal done.
Yeah.
And what you know now is the Lakers are the third team in that deal. They were willing to include 2 unprotected first-round picks. So we know that Danny Ainge had access to 4 unprotected first-round picks. And as Woj tweeted and kind of confirmed what we've been reporting, it was simply a matter of how far the Knicks were willing to go and how Danny Ainge was willing to compromise. And frankly, Danny's not been willing to compromise on this situation at all. And then when you hear Woj saying, hey, well, Leon Rose and the Knicks put a Monday night deadline on this, Leon Rose got frustrated. About a month ago, we reported on this show that Leon got very frustrated with Danny Ainge and his unwillingness, Danny Ainge, to come off of his asking price for Donovan Mitchell. And I think that's why you see things like deadlines, arbitrary deadlines, where Leon Rose is saying, hey, if you're not going to do this deal by Monday at X time, we're going to move on with our lives. And I think that's exactly what Leon Rose did because he was frustrated with Danny Ainge. And I'm not saying that Leon did the wrong thing by setting that deadline. What I'm saying is you can tell that Danny Ainge is driving a hard bargain. Those 4 unprotected first-round picks are an awfully, awfully big ask for somebody in Donovan Mitchell's position. And I think when you look at leverage or you look at value, value is determined by what somebody's willing to pay for your commodity. And at this point, the Knicks are not willing to give up Quentin Grimes and 2 unprotected first-round picks to get this deal done. And I say kudos to Leon Rose because I also think, just like James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Donovan Mitchell's in a prove-it year. This is a hugely important season for Donovan Mitchell.
Facts.
If he comes out and he scores 30 points a night, I think Donovan Mitchell is going to be arguably a top 5 player. He'd certainly be a top 7 player.
That's every day.
Because how many players in this league average 30 points a night? A handful at best. And I think when you look at the potential and you look at, clearly Donovan Mitchell was in his feelings on this deal.
Yeah.
He put out a video last night on Instagram at 1:36 a.m.
Yeah.
sitting in a gym with his shoes on working out. This is a guy who's got a point to prove. So I think one of the things that now is that I think if he comes back to camp with the Jazz, and that's an if, that's not a certainty. If Donovan Mitchell comes back to camp with the Jazz, Jake, I think he's in line to have a monster season.
Yeah, and I think that Danny would be foolish not to consider that. And I truly believe that Danny and Justin Zanuck and the whole front office team are well aware that Donovan has a point to prove. Like, it's not a secret. Like, if we're seeing the videos, what do you think that they know being in contact with him regularly? And that's something that I want to make sure we're all clear on. This is not a situation where Donovan Mitchell is upset with the organization or malcontent or requesting or demanding a trade. Like, it's not a hostile thing. It is very much a, hey, we're in communication with Don. He knows exactly what we're trying to get for him, and we're not going to take less than that. That, to me, based on what happened yesterday, is very clear that the organization has said to Donovan Mitchell months ago, like I'm talking about the December before Rudy Gobert got traded type timeline. Like, hey, we are going to move Rudy, and this is the deal that potentially we may get done with the Knicks to move you to New York. And we're not going to come off of that deal. And that's why I think that plays into why Danny has been just so stubborn on the unprotected picks portion, on the Quentin Grimes portion, on the not paying RJ Barrett's rookie extension portion. Like, that's why I think Danny Ainge has driven such a hard bargain here. And I think overall, that's why Donovan Mitchell, is working as hard as he is, because he knows, hey, right now, like, yes, I am the face of this franchise, but also they are willing to trade me. And as a player, whether we're talking about the Lakers or the Jazz or the Nets, as a player, the caliber of Donovan Mitchell, you always want to be in a position where the organization just is unwilling to trade you, where they're saying, hey, this guy just simply is too good. The only way we'd ever trade him is if he demanded a trade. We would never willingly give up this guy. And I think if I'm Donovan Mitchell, I'm saying to myself, hey, like, I got to come out and get the job done, like, unequivocally this year. I got to be, like, a bona fide, no doubt about it killer. And I think that's why you're seeing 1:30 a.m. in the gym. That's why you're seeing all the stuff with Brickley and the Black Ops runs and the Miami runs and just all this work he's put in. So it doesn't surprise me. I think it all adds up. And my opinion is I think this is a waiting game now after this RJ Barrett extension and the deadline being set.
Yeah, and I think both Danny Ainge and Leon Rose have handled this very well. I obviously, we're starting to hear and see and get a lot more leaks. We're starting to get a lot more information. That's politicking. That's how these deals get done. And I think that, frankly, as somebody that has relationships across the NBA, make no mistake about it, that we are a convenience. in this situation. You know, we talked to a lot of people at the Jazz. We talked to a lot of people around the NBA. We happen to have really good, close relationships in NBA circles in New York. We're convenient for those people. And I don't think there's any doubt that the flow of information in the last 2 weeks has been significantly more robust than it had been the last month. And I think a lot of that is because Leon Rose was frustrated. So I don't mind telling you it was easier to get information out of New York than it was out of Utah. That is absolutely for sure. That the spigots were on in New York trying to get leverage over Danny Ainge. And I just don't think that ever happened. And I don't think it was ever going to happen. But Leon Rose, I think Leon Rose knows what he's in for if he's going to come back to Utah and try to get a deal done, which by the way, I also think it's really an important point. There is nothing preventing the Jazz and the Knicks from doing a deal here. RJ Barrett was not somebody, contrary to reports, my Utah Jazz sources have told me all along, RJ Barrett was not somebody the Jazz wanted to pay. They did not want to extend him. And I don't know if it's a smokescreen. I don't know what it is. But I know almost for certain that RJ Barrett is not a deal breaker here. That RJ Barrett was not the guy that Danny Ainge had to have in this deal. I think Danny Ainge wanted Quentin Grimes and Emmanuel Quickley more than he wanted RJ Barrett. And I think Obi Toppin was a guy the Knicks were willing to put into this deal. I think that when you look at Evan Fournier or Cam Reddish, they were willing to put those guys in this deal. It was simply a matter of, were they willing to include, predominantly were they willing to include Quentin Grimes, and were they willing to include Emmanuel Quickley? And
No.
I don't get the feeling that they were willing to put those two guys together in this deal. I don't think that Leon Rose was ever willing to include Quentin Grimes in this deal. I actually think Quentin Grimes now has a very high barrier to meet because the Knicks were unwilling to trade him.
Yes.
And if you passed on Donovan Mitchell for Quentin Grimes and Quentin Grimes never develops into a top 5 player on your roster, you probably missed an opportunity here to get Donovan Mitchell. That's a lot of pressure that Quentin Grimes is going to have to wear. And I'm sure he's well aware of that. I'm sure the Knicks are aware of that. But let's make something very clear. There is no reason that this deal cannot get done. Anybody telling you that this deal is dead is simply wrong. Anybody telling you that now it's impossible to make a deal for Donovan Mitchell between the Jazz and the Knicks is simply wrong. Anybody telling you that a 3-team deal is no longer viable is simply wrong. RJ Barrett is not now, and was never a deal breaker for the Jazz, the Lakers, and the Knicks to making a 3-team deal. It is as simple as, can Danny Ainge get 4 unprotected first-round picks in a Donovan Mitchell deal? And I say yesterday afternoon at 2 o'clock, yeah, he had that deal if he wanted it. The problem was he wanted Quentin Grimes. And the other thing is, I think as far as like the Lakers part of this deal, I think there is a very big separation in the organization, the Utah Jazz, in how much willingness there is to pay Russell Westbrook $47 million not to play for the Utah Jazz. I think there's a lot of people that don't want to do that deal. And when I say a lot, there's 3-4 people that make these decisions at the Utah Jazz. I think probably 3 out of those 4 people, from what I was told yesterday, have a lot of reservations about paying Russell Westbrook $47 million not to wear the note on his chest next season.
Obviously not.
It's going to be very interesting to see what happens to Russ because, Jake, I think the other part of this, and this is a huge part of this trade.
Yeah.
What are the Lakers going to do if they do not trade Russell Westbrook?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are other options. There are always options for them, and I think that the Lakers are, it seems like anyway, based on the behavior and the fact that they finally got involved as a third team, which to us, again, we had been talking about this for a minute, that the Lakers were kind of sitting there waiting for the Kyrie Irving situation to play out. And if Kyrie and KD had stayed with the Nets, which it ends up that they obviously are, that the Lakers would be a dark horse to get into a third team position in this deal. That's what wound up happening. And so if you don't deal Russell Westbrook, I think it's a interesting conundrum. I think there's a chance that you just sit him down. I think there's a chance you bring him off the bench. Like I think the Lakers are not shy about saying, hey, you're not performing. We'd love to have you out there. We love your defense. We love your transition ability with your size and speed. But the problem is and this was kind of, I know this is kind of an insane comparison, but if you really think about it, the Russell Westbrook inability to make a jump shot or really be anything individually offensive in the half court, like his inability to score in the half court is kind of the same thing the Utah Jazz dealt with Rudy Gobert. You have a guy the defense doesn't have to respect. And in the NBA, that's just not going to get it done. You have to have all 5 guys with at least some semblance of an ability to score individually to keep the defense honest.
Yes.
And so,
yes.
if I'm the Lakers, I think a lot of people forgot early in Darvin Ham's tenure when they had just signed him, it came out that Darvin Ham was going to have the ability to go ahead and sit Russell Westbrook down whenever he felt like it. And then it came out last week that Austin Reeves was going to be pushing to be a starter and was definitely going to be a closer, for this team in games.
Yeah, that he was ahead of Russ.
Yeah, and so that's why I say they're not shy about sitting him down if they don't trade him. But I have to think that if you're the Lakers, at some point you got to prioritize cap space, and that Russell Westbrook contract is your yellow brick road to that situation. So I just have to think that with a month to go before camp starts, that you would be every single day trying to make something happen.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just very interesting the way all of this is played out. I think I just look at the way that the Knicks have handled this, and I don't mean to be redundant on this. It's nice to see the Knicks operating from a position of intelligence and basketball IQ.
Yeah.
Because that's not something, and I know that Knicks fans, freaked out when I said that this is not the same Knicks, and this is not Isaiah Thomas's Knicks. This is not Phil Jackson's Knicks. These are Leon Rose's New York Knicks. Mm-hmm. And I think if you're a Knicks fan, and really if you're a Jazz fan, I mean, I go back to the day that Rudy Gobert was traded on July 1st, and all the Jazz fans were on the show saying, man, it's wild to see Danny Ainge doing this
operating
for the Jazz. Like, yeah, building, operating, negotiating, trading on behalf of the Utah Jazz. And this is what the NBA is.
And really, I feel like the way to say it is doing what needs to be done, like not being scared to say no to the Utah Jazz on Quentin Grimes. And if you're Danny Ainge, not being scared to do the Rudy Gobert deal because you needed to do that to move on to the next chapter of life in the Utah Jazz's organization. And I think that it's just it is refreshing to see this, but also at the same time, there is a lot of burnout factor on this conversation. We talked about it yesterday on the show. This conversation with this trade has been going on for like 6-8 weeks now, like most of the summer, and I think that eventually Danny Ainge and the Utah Jazz are going to have to move on from this, as do the Knicks, because frankly, both squads have a ton of resources that they can use to go and make other deals. And so to me, I kind of felt like this RJ Barrett deadline thing that came out yesterday was sort of not a flex, but just kind of going up that alley of like, hey, man,
it was a flex.
Like,
it was a flex.
I mean, it was, but at the same time, it's like, the thing is, it would be more of a flex if they pulled that when Danny Ainge absolutely had to have this deal. Like, if Danny Ainge was in a position where he had to have this deal, then to me, that's more of a flex. I just felt like Leon was saying, hey, look, I'm kind of done with this situation. I either want to get a deal done or I'm going to move on. And I felt like that's kind of what happened. Like, he's just saying, I'm not desperate to make this deal. And again, to your point, that is refreshing to see. It is refreshing to see one of the most iconic franchises in the NBA actually operating at a high level from a front office standpoint. So I think it's good for the league. But ultimately, and I think this is an important point, ultimately, no matter what happens in this Donovan Mitchell deal or this offseason, the Knicks have to start winning basketball games. Like, you have to start being relevant. You have to start being able to beat Boston, beat Brooklyn. Like, you got to step up and be one of the most relevant teams in the East. And until that happens, none of this matters.
All right, let's get your thoughts in here. First comment of the day goes to "with all due respect."
Oh, really? Really? That's how we want to start.
With all due respect.
Yeah, that's how we're going to do this.
All due respect.
His icon is a black T-shirt.
And with all due respect.
And he says, Monty's closet must look like a cartoon character's closet with 12 of the exact same outfit hanging neatly in a row. I don't even try to hide it. I have 4 or 5 black polo shirts, and my favorite,
illuminate me.
black Callaway polo shirt. And then I have about 20 black t-shirts. That's what I wear on a daily basis.
That's right, T.
It makes life very easy, man. And it just depends. Am I going to wear jeans that day? Am I going to wear slacks that day? You know, it just depends on the activity. But with all due respect, you ain't wrong.
With all due respect.
You ain't wrong. Neville93 says, good morning, guys. I've been out because I just had a baby this weekend. Hey.
Let's go.
Welcome. Congrats, Neville93. Hey. Kurt Myers says, good morning. Kenai Johnson says, top of the morning, fellas. Jesse P says, hopefully the Knicks try to add Mitchell with RJ. Well, there you go. I think that's probably that's what this deal should have meant to the Knicks all along. Mm-hmm. Because and I think we've even talked about this. The Knicks without RJ Barrett and Donovan Mitchell are not a better team. If you put those two next to each other, I think you're in much better position than you are if you just have RJ or if you just have Donovan.
Well, and I think the bigger standpoint to that would be having Donovan at the 2, RJ at the 3, and Jalen Brunson at the 1. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to say,
I would agree with that, yeah.
Hey, we want this trio of really talented guards that can play in different ways, and that's going to give us reliability, but then allow us some options, at the 4 and the 5 outside of Julius.
But I also think it makes Julius Randle a better player at the 4.
It does.
Absolutely
it does.
Takes, because what it does is it takes a lot of pressure off of him to be the guy. Because Julius Randle's not going to be the guy for the Knicks. I think we all know that. So if you have guys like Brunson, guys like Don, guys like RJ, all three of those guys can put the ball in the hole. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
So you don't need Julius Randle shooting threes. You don't need Julius Randle on the ball running the break. You don't need him to be one of your top 2 guys in order to get to the playoffs, to win big games of consequence.
Yeah.
It makes Julius Randle a better player having RJ, Don, and Brunson on the floor together. And by the way, Mitchell Robinson, I still am a huge Mitchell Robinson fan.
Yes.
I think the Knicks are in a really good spot right now.
He flies so under the radar.
He does. Aaliyah and Kel says sign and trade, not so fast. The poison pill really makes RJ Barrett cost prohibitive.
Red pill or blue pill?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. Kenny, good morning to you. Predictions on what you'll say from before the show starts. The deal isn't dead. Stay largely unaffected, but it still isn't close because New York won't pay Ainge's premium price. Well, that's the reality of it. Jesse Harsh says, good morning, boys. The deal is dead. The deal was never really that terribly close, in my opinion. On a side note, how about the new Game of Thrones show? Haven't watched it. Have not watched it.
Yeah.
Going to watch it. Absolutely going to watch it. I will say the show about Wrexham FX on FX, Wrexham, the soccer club that Ryan Reynolds bought is fantastic.
Yeah, great show.
Really enjoy the Wrexham show on FX. I highly recommend you look at that one. Turf Dome says Ainge outbid himself. Do you buy that? I don't think so.
What is it? What does that really mean, though? He outbid himself. Like, are you saying that the Knicks got frustrated, like Danny pushed it too far? Is that what we're saying? Like, I think again, you can't overstate Danny Ainge's willingness to push the envelope as far as what he's asking for. I mean, the guy is a complete savage about it, and I'm not exaggerating. I mean, Danny Ainge just does not care if it upsets you that he's asking for a certain amount for a certain player. He's going to ask for what he wants, and it's a yes or no thing. And I think when that's the case in these type of situations, you see how it plays out. It goes on for a long time. Like, he forces the other party to get desperate. And that's why we're going to keep saying Leon Rose deserves a lot of credit because he hasn't gotten desperate. And I think that's important.
Yep, I agree. Eric and Raleigh says, isn't the deal dead because of the rule that teams cannot have 2 players on a rookie max extension? No, you can have 2 players on a rookie max extension. You cannot trade for 2 players on a rookie max extension. However, you can have one, RJ Barrett, that's your own, and you can trade for another. You can absolutely do that. Yes. No. The deal with RJ Barrett is that he's on the poison pill now, which means he's got 1 more year of his rookie deal before his rookie extension kicks in, which means if you trade for him, his cap number goes much higher.
Donnie, please.
Because you have to include that 1 year that's left. So it makes it whereas with the Knicks, the Knicks only have on their cap, they will only be charged for this 1 year left on his rookie deal instead of lumping that rookie deal into his extension and taking those numbers and calculating his cap hit. So it makes it just a lot more expensive.
It's math and stuff.
Yeah, screw that. Mark Rasmussen says, God bless. Good morning, y'all. May the Lord be with us, and may he when racism is in BYU. Okay. I like it. Let's see. Davon Shaw says, Eric and Raleigh, RJ didn't get the max, so it doesn't apply. Well, I mean, he got paid. 120 million bucks. He didn't get what Donovan got. He got a rookie extension. So, but he got paid. He's going to average 30 million bucks a year.
Yeah.
I mean,
listen, I'll take that deal if you don't want it, okay?
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Teddy Wayman, what's up? Good to see you, my friend. He says, morning, guys. By the way, it's 7:05. This hour of the show is brought to you by Wayman Brothers Construction. Great to see. Wayman Brothers is currently working on a huge project for us that we'll tell you about in a couple of weeks. But, man, I cannot tell you the job that Wayman Brothers Construction has done at my house. Again, we had all kinds of trouble with contractors, and I mean, frankly, it was a nightmare for us. And then we called Wayman Brothers, and everything went swimmingly well. See, swimmingly.
Right, swimmingly, because they built a hot tub pad for you, and you swim in it.
You know.
Right.
It was a great experience we had with Wayman Brothers. If you're looking for work, if you're looking for kitchen, bathroom, again, they built a Trex deck for me, poured a concrete pad for my hot tub, set that hot tub. Like, hey, man, when you're looking for somebody and you need somebody that can do electrical, structural, painting, framing, all of that, your one-stop shop for home improvement is Wayman Brothers Construction. Call them today, 801-654-1028, 801-654-1028 for Wayman Brothers Construction. The biggest stories in sports this morning. RJ Barrett gets a big extension from the New York Knicks and essentially is off the table in a Donovan Mitchell deal. And the question is, are the New York Knicks still the best dance partner for the Jazz on a Donovan Mitchell deal? And I think there's no doubt, absolutely they are. There is no question about that. I think if the Jazz trade Donovan Mitchell, it would only be to the Knicks because they're the ones that can bring them the most compensation.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that they are absolutely still the best dance partner for the New York Knicks. What's up? San Diego State Aztecs 21. He says, Buenos dias. Como se dice? What's up, buddy? Snuka says, morning, y'all. What's up? Good to see you, Snuka. Caleb says, Hero, Robinson, Bogey to the Lakers. Tyler Hero. And we haven't talked about Tyler Hero on this show in a minute. But the last time I heard the name Tyler Hero, talking to people around the NBA, his reputation's taken a bit of a beating. He's just not a guy that teams trust in the clutch.
Yeah.
He's not a guy that teams right now want on the floor in the last 5 minutes. His value is incredibly low. And again, I think he can change that.
Right.
But he's going to have to do that in a Heat uniform.
Yeah, he feels like a try-hard guy. He feels like a 4A player where, he's a six-man type dude who wants to be a starter but isn't good enough to be a starter yet.
Yeah, I agree with that. Kanai Johnson says, me and my kids roast s'mores in the backyard. Got a fire pit. Oh, fire pits.
So good.
There's nothing like a crisp 40-degree, 50-degree evening with a fire pit. You're wearing a vest, maybe a sweatshirt. I cannot wait for sweatshirt weather.
Yep, hoodie season.
I'm ready, man. I'm absolutely ready. Compass says, what's up, boys? Good to see you, Compass. Spencer D says, time to bring in John Collins. Would love to see John Collins in a Jazz uniform. Asgill, also on the max rookie extension thing, you can't trade for two guys on that contract. You can sign one yourself. Correct. Absolutely correct. Troy Cushing, excuse me. Good morning, my Jazz junkies. What is your guys' feeling on trades? Yes, it will happen, or no, it won't. I'll go back. I'll move my Don Dar.
Move your Don meter thing.
Radar Don Dar.
Yeah, Don Dar.
We have got what do they call it when there's in the weather radars? The
Donnie Doppler.
The Donnie Doppler is at 65%. I am moving the Donnie Doppler Dar back to 65-35 that he comes to camp with the Jazz. I think there is still a significant chance they trade him. But again, I think it's to the Knicks. I just don't, talking to my NBA sources last night, people were saying there's no reason that this deal doesn't get done. And I think Danny was trying to use RJ Barrett as a compromise.
Yeah.
That Danny was like, hey, I want him. We take it. Yeah. And then when it comes up that, hey, no, okay, well, we'll compromise. Give us Quentin Grimes.
Yeah.
I think that's what he was doing. Let's see. JC destroys ankles. It gives us a $5 tip this morning. Appreciate you, JC. Morning, guys. So a lot of reports say the extension, the Knicks giving RJ Barrett effectively closes the book on Don going to New York. I just don't think it does.
That's not true, bro.
I don't think it does. And I think there are other suitors. I think that listen, as far as other suitors go, the Cavs were never really an option. I think Cleveland's out altogether. I think the Lakers can make a nice third piece. They're not an option. They've never been a Donovan Mitchell in a Laker uniform option. I don't know how you would even make that happen. Honest to goodness. And the idea, I think Danny Ainge is a adamant hater of the Lakers in that I don't think that he would send Donovan Mitchell to the Lakers. That's that's hard to even imagine.
Yeah.
I look very much more in the East. I think a lot of people talk about Miami. Miami doesn't have the players to make that deal work. Danny Ainge has zero interest in Tyler Hero. None. Nada. Zip. I think there are two other teams that could make this deal happen. I'm curious to see what Toronto is still willing to do. Danny Ainge is going to ask for one guy, and you know who it is. He's going to ask for Scotty Barnes. And that's going to be a no. So I don't think if I'm the Jazz, am I taking less to get more perceivably from Toronto? Probably not. I need 4 unprotected first round picks. 4 unprotected first round picks. That's the Lakers and the Knicks. I mean, if you look at the math here, it really is difficult to do a deal with what Danny's expecting in return. With very many teams across this league, there's just not a whole lot of teams who can offer what Danny's offered. It been offered by the Lakers and the Knicks. That's why I just don't think this deal is dead.
Yeah, and I don't think that, again, this just goes right back to Danny Ainge isn't desperate to trade Donovan Mitchell. You have to understand that. Like, it would be different if Danny was like, yeah, we got to move him, and we got to call every team in the league, and, then maybe Miami is a suitor on a smaller deal or whatever, but that's just not where we are with this situation. That's why I think the Donnie Doppler, needs to stay in favor of him.
The Donnie
Doppler.
Okay. I don't hate it.
The Donnie Doppler. Come on.
I don't hate. Maybe we need to get like a weather sounder.
Yeah.
Like a radar.
I'll work on that.
Doppler radar.
Yeah, the Donnie Doppler. I think the Donnie Doppler has to stay with him. Most likely, or not most likely, but it's very likely he'll come back to the Utah Jazz unless there is compromise on Quentin Grimes. That to me is the linchpin. That to me is like the sticking point of, hey, if Leon Rose, changes on that and compromises, okay, then obviously a deal is more tenable. But I would be surprised if Leon Rose just woke up tomorrow and was like, yeah, cool, we're willing to send Quentin Grimes out, no problem. I just don't see that happening. I don't know why you would spend all this time being steadfast on Grimes, and then at the very end, compromise. I just can't see Leon Rose doing that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see exactly how that turns out. I mean, you look around, and you see what the Miami Heat have. I mean, they own their first round picks, but I mean, it's simply a matter of how many of those picks they'd be willing to give up. Okay, great. Let's say they give up 4 unprotected first-round picks. The problem with that is that what talent are you going to put into that deal? Duncan Robinson is not getting that deal done. Is Tyler Hero getting that deal done? He's not. Why are you going to trade Donovan Mitchell to get Tyler Hero? That doesn't make any sense at all. I understand why you would trade Donovan Mitchell to end up with a package of players from the Knicks and buy out Russell Westbrook. I understand that, right? But I still maintain that also Bojan Bogdanovic and Mike Conley offer you a lot of value and can bring you draft picks as well. I mean, you got a first-round pick for Royce O'Neal, which might be one of the most shocking price tags ever.
Yeah, complete savage about it.
I mean, you got – so there's value to be had out there, but you're not just giving Donovan Mitchell away. Donovan Mitchell, I mean, he's an elite performer in this league at this point. For where he is in his development, his age, like he's a hard worker. Donovan Mitchell has expanded his arsenal every single year. He's a guy that works hard. He's a guy that is I mean, he's somebody that is conscientious. He cares. Like he really cares. You don't ever have to wonder if he's working out. You don't ever have to wonder, hey, is he really gonna work on his defense? Right? You don't have to wonder about that. You know he is going to come back to camp with better footwork, better understanding, better IQ, better mid-range game. Like last year with an extended three-point range. Like Donovan Mitchell's a guy you want on your team. He's a good locker room guy. You're not giving that away for Tyler Hero. You're just not doing that. It makes no sense at all. Smooth B.
Smooth.
Pat Riley don't have the picks needed to do a deal. I think he does. And I think, again, I still maintain that any Donovan Mitchell deal is a 3-team trade.
Yeah.
I think that's, there's no doubt about that. Billy Goat says, never count out Pat Riley, fam. I totally agree. Absolutely agree with that. Let's see. Steve Calder says, hey. Hi, Steven. Hey, no, hey to you, sir.
Yeah, hey
to you.
Is for, yeah.
Yeah, Juan Rivera says Donovan scoring 30 on a ranking team doesn't raise his trade value. He wants out of Utah. Okay, so tell me how you think he wants out of Utah. So he's demanded a trade? No, he hasn't. He's hinted that he's going to demand a trade? No, he hasn't. He's been a malcontent? No, he hasn't. He's refused to play? That was Rudy Gobert, not Donovan Mitchell.
In a game, the biggest game of their season.
So I don't think there is a single indication that Donovan Mitchell wants out of Utah.
Yeah.
Not one. Not a single one. Juan also says Danny knows this. He won't be with the Jazz at the start of the season.
Yeah, I just don't think yeah.
I just
disagree.
Jay Farron says 2 unprotected picks from the Heat with trash 24-plus late first rounders. Well, maybe. I don't know that a 2027 first-round pick ever comes to fruition for this club. Because you also remember, like, most of these picks are from somebody else. That's the issue with the Knicks. Like, they've got 1,000,001 picks to give, but how much value are truly in those?
Yeah.
How bad are the Knicks going to be in 2029? I don't know. Is a Laker first-round pick in 2029 that's unprotected, isn't that more valuable than a Knicks 2029 first-round pick unprotected? I would think it's a hell of a lot more valuable. Because my guess is the Knicks are going to be very good for the next 7 to 10 years if Leon keeps going. So I think those are also things that Danny Ainge has to consider. Billy Goat says either Grimes or Obi are gone or Spider will be traded to the Miami Heat.
I just don't think this Heat narrative is as easy as you guys are making it out to be.
Yeah, I don't know about that, man. Like, I think the Heat have a long way to go. Ray S., good morning to you. I would not be against Grimes. That's my opinion. If I'm the Knicks, I would have traded Grimes to get Donovan Mitchell. I would have begrudgingly traded him. Mm-hmm. But if it would have been, if the deal, and I've heard several incarnations of talent on this roster, I think the Knicks are happy to give up Obi Toppin. I think they know that he's not a player of consequence in their future. I think they would have happily done Grimes, Toppin. I think they would have, the veterans probably going out, and I hesitate to call him a veteran, but Cam Reddish, Evan Fournier, for Donovan Mitchell, another player with Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
I think the Lakers would have ended up probably with Bojan Bogdanovic. Conceivably Bojan and Mike Conley. I think the Jazz would have wound up with 4 unprotected first-round picks. I think they likely would have ended up with Grimes and Quickly and Russell Westbrook's contract. That's kind of the framework that they were dealing in.
Facts.
Leon just was not willing to give up. I don't know his appetite. Frankly, I don't know Leon Rose's appetite to give up Emmanuel Quickly.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure that he was excited to do that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be.
I'm really not. No, neither would I. It's why Philly's unwilling to trade Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah, why would you?
Yeah,
Club control, dominant player. Come on.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Ray S. says Leon Rose, a.k.a. the Don.
Well,
could be.
Well,
I think he's handled this exceptionally well. I think he has. Asgil says, how about we assume no deal is happening and just see how the season plays out? That's what I would do. If I were the Jazz, I would not be hesitant to bring him back.
Yeah, I don't think they are hesitant at all. I think
not at all.
I think that, in fact, that's been why Danny's been so strong on the negotiating front, because he knows, hey, I can just bring Don back and we can, like I said, they can be a fringe playoff team. I think that there's no reason why, like, if you kept most of the talent you got from Minnesota and you made a couple of deals and brought in some fresh talent that got you more athletic versus, and you sent out like Conley and Bogey and some of these older injury-prone guys, like, I just think there's no reason why you can't be a high 30s, maybe even a 40-win team. I just don't think that that's out of the realm of possibility if everyone comes back.
If you're in the East, you cannot give up young guards. You just can't. That the Eastern Conference, in my opinion, is going to be won and lost by guard play for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
And I think, sure, you have guys like Giannis, but Giannis plays a very hybrid role for the Milwaukee Bucks.
Y'all feel me?
I think when you look at the 76ers, Quickly and Harden are going to determine their fate.
Yeah.
I think that Joe's going to be Joe, and I think there's no question about that. Look at the Knicks. The Knicks are heavily invested in a guard that they're likely going to have to give up a first-round pick for tampering on. I think if you look, the Boston Celtics certainly are in on Tatum and Brown. I think there's also no doubt that their grouping of guards, Marcus Smart's another guy that the Celtics didn't want to give up.
Look at Atlanta.
I look at Atlanta. I look at the top teams in the East are going to win and lose with their guard play. I look at the West. I think the West is very different. I think I'm very interested. If I look at Golden State, I'm very interested to see exactly what happens with Kuminga and Wiseman. I mean, I don't know. Everybody looks great in the summer. I get that. Jonathan Kuminga's range on his jump shot that we're seeing, dude, if he's hitting any of that in the NBA, he's going to be a monster because he is elite athletically getting to the rack. Forget it. I don't know whatever happens to Wiseman. I don't know. James Wiseman is an interesting character because so many more people are talking about Kuminga.
Yes.
And you're not hearing about Wiseman. What happens with Draymond Green? Does Kuminga make Green expendable after this coming season? I don't know. Like, look at the choices they're going to have to make. Poole, Wiggins, Green, Wiseman, Kuminga. I mean, it's going to be very interesting. Are you keeping Klay Thompson? Like, you have all of these issues.
Just to ask that question is crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
Look at Phoenix.
Yeah.
How long is Chris Paul a viable max player in Phoenix? How long can you team Book and CP3 together? How long? I look at the Lakers. How long are you going to be? Because let's be real honest about something with the Lakers, too. Yeah. They're not built around LeBron James. Their success and failure right now is on Anthony Davis. That is, it's almost inarguable that Anthony Davis is controlling the fate of that club. Because
after the street closed Davis,
if he can't stay healthy, man, they're dead in the water.
What's the point?
Right? Yeah. And the answer is I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's why they're trying to add more offensive weaponry.
Yeah.
And I don't know. So I look across the West. I think the West is kind of a hodgepodge of who's going to stay healthy, because I still think there's going to be a lot of trades in September. I think in the coming weeks, I think our trip to Hawaii, by the time we get back, I think this league could be a very different Western Conference.
I want to thank me for having no days off.
I think this league could be very different. Very, very
different.
Doing
shows in Hawaii, by the way.
Yeah, we are doing shows in Hawaii, and I'm excited about that. I am really excited about it. I cannot wait, man. We leave Friday morning, and I'm getting the hell out.
Delta Lounge, first class, You know
what I'm saying? By the way, this trip we're giving away, a lot of people asking questions about, like, hey, are we really giving away a trip? Yeah, we're giving away a trip for two to see BYU and Notre Dame. Like, this is what...
Are we really giving away a trip, brother?
This is what's so amazing to me. Hey, are you guys really giving away an Xbox? Yeah, we did. We gave away 2 of those and 2 PS5s. And, are you guys really giving away a trip? Yeah. Wait till you see the next promotion we're doing.
Bro, the next one is lit. Like, the next one is legit.
It's going to be amazing. But yes, we're giving away a trip for two to the Shamrock Series to see BYU and Notre Dame October 7th and 8th in Las Vegas. You get 2 nights at the Palms Resort Hotel and Casino. We're giving you 2 tickets to the game and a $250 gas card to get you there. And it's all brought to you by our good friend Devery Davis at Academy Mortgage. He's my mortgage guy. I'm telling you right now, no matter where you're listening to the show, if you have questions about your mortgage, refi, hey, can I do this? Hey, can I do that? I'm telling you to call Devery Davis today, 801-543-9666, 801-543-9666. Can you afford a down payment?
Devery Davis with the Davis Lending Team, powered by Academy Mortgage. All right, first-time homebuyers, listen up. This one's for you. There's a huge misconception on how much it takes to buy a house. Is it 20%? Is it 10%? Is it 15%? The answer will surprise you. There's 4 mortgages in the United States. 2 of them require no down payment. 2 require very minimal down payment. Out of that down payment, there's lots of places to get it from. There's state funds, county funds, city funds, lots of ways to buy a house, no money down. When I was 18, I got out of high school. I actually bought a brand new house, no money down, never regretted it. If you have questions, give me a shout. Glad to walk you through it. Have a great one.
Devery Davis at the Davis Lending Team, Academy Mortgage, NMLS number 278545. Devery Davis and Academy Mortgage are equal housing lenders. I'm begging you, especially if you're here in Utah, no matter where you are, if you have questions, now is the time to get into real estate. Inventory's up, prices are down. You can get really good incentives to buy homes.
Call him.
Call Devery Davis today, 801-543-9666. Devery Davis is an equal housing lender. Welcome to the Monty Show, the truth in sports talk radio here in Salt Lake City, Utah. The biggest stories in sports this morning, very clearly this Donovan Mitchell, RJ Barrett, Knicks situation. If you're just waking up, maybe you went to bed early last night. Perhaps that happened. The Knicks have given RJ Barrett a rookie extension, $120 million. Woo, he got paid. 22-year-old RJ Barrett's now, after this coming season, he'll still be on his rookie deal. When this extension kicks in, RJ Barrett's going to make around $30 million a year.
For real.
If he meets his bonuses, which include all-star game appearances and all NBA teams, he could make fully $120 million. And the biggest question...
Real.
He is for real. The biggest question this morning is, does this RJ Barrett extension with the New York Knicks preclude a trade between the Jazz and the Knicks for Donovan Mitchell? My sources around the NBA tell me absolutely it does not mean that the Jazz and Knicks will not continue talking. And I've seen all the questions about, hey, have they cut off communication? They absolutely have not. The Jazz and the Knicks have not gone. I asked this question last night too because I wanted clarity on this. There has never been a time, I am told, that the Jazz and the Knicks have talked, on a weekly basis. They've never not talked weekly, regularly. Even over the 4th of July, they were talking about deals. Even in through July, all the way through August, they've talked on a pretty regular basis. Most weeks, I'm told, the Jazz and the Knicks have talked multiple times. They came to a point in this arc of trying to make a Donovan Mitchell deal where they both agreed, hey, we got to find a third team to make this happen. That third team turned out to be the Lakers. And yesterday afternoon, if you follow me on Twitter, The Monty Show, Monty, The Monty Show, yesterday afternoon, I had a tweet for you where, we were told that the Jazz, the Knicks, and the Lakers had a trade set up where they had 4 unprotected picks available to Danny Ainge and the Jazz, but it was a simple matter of what talent is Leon Rose willing to give up to make a Donovan Mitchell deal, and what talent is Danny Ainge and the Jazz willing to accept before they would send out Donovan Mitchell. And I can tell you right now, Quentin Grimes remains at the center of that question. And the Knicks simply are not willing to trade Quentin Grimes to get Donovan Mitchell.
Facts.
And I still maintain that that's the exact right thing to do if you're the Knicks. I just think now, though, you've spent $120 million on RJ Barrett.
Yep.
Jake, I think you have to better this roster. You now have to set him up to succeed because he's on your roster probably for the next 2 seasons. You've got to do everything you can do to get a 22-year-old RJ Barrett from 20 points a game to 25, 26 points a game in the next season.
Yeah, and don't forget the Jalen Brunson contract. I mean, you spent a lot of money this offseason, and you know, obviously it goes without saying that it can't be for nothing. I mean, you have to sort of take this next step to relevancy from a winning perspective. I think it's great. You know, and I would think Knicks fans would agree with this, but like I think it's great to be signing these players and locking up RJ Barrett, locking up Jalen Brunson, making sure that Mitchell Robinson is your center for the foreseeable future, like the next 3 to 5 years. You know, getting that core grouping in your starting five together and locked up, but none of that matters if that starting five can't get past the Eastern Conference Finals. None of that matters, and frankly, I would go as far as to say at this point, you're just trying to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, if you got to the Eastern Conference Finals in year one of the Jalen Brunson era, I think you'd be pretty happy with that. But then immediately the conversation obviously shifts to NBA Finals appearances. And
yeah,
I just think that there is a ton of talent in the East that makes it difficult to get to the NBA Finals. And obviously that's Giannis and that's the boys in Boston. I think those two teams every single year are the two teams that, you know, are expected to be conference champions or, NBA Finals champions. Like, that's what it's been. So if I'm Leon Rose and I'm the Knicks, it's not simply good enough just to extend, RJ Barrett. You have to take that next step and get that bona fide star to finish off your starting five.
All right, if you're watching the show right now, please do give us a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. Hit that like button. I saw somebody asking about how the tips work. All you have to do is hit the tip at the bottom. All of that money goes straight into building the infrastructure of the show. None of that money, frankly, unfortunately, at this point in our career.
And by the way, there's so many comments that if we missed yours, it's not because we're just skipping over it. Tipping really helps us get to your comment because it highlights it. Even if that tip is $1, that's better than nothing.
Yeah, if you give us a tip, obviously we move your comment to the top of the stack, but we just really appreciate the way you guys support this show. So if you're watching the show, please do give us a thumbs up. Eric and Raleigh says it's 0% for a VA loan. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
That is exactly correct.
Call Devery Davis.
Hayabusa says nobody can afford to put down a whole bunch of money on a house. Yeah, that's right. That's why there's so many no money down loans right now and programs to help people buy homes.
Yes.
And almost no matter where you are, the 9 out of 10 people want to own a home.
Well, what I always say is it doesn't cost you anything to have a conversation with Devery. Like, go and call the guy and say, hey, I heard about you on the show. I don't think really that I'm in a position to buy a house, but they said that you had a lot of great programs, so I just wanted to see what are the possibilities, and then in a span of 10 minutes on a phone call, just like RJ Barrett getting signed, you could potentially sign, and get going in a house purchase process. So that's why I say, like, it's just a matter of calling Devery and saying, hey, this is my situation. What can you do for me? Or what are my options?
Juan Rivera says, I have a mad respect for your show. YouTube breakdown trades from both sides. A+ content. Thanks, Juan. Appreciate that very much. Glad to see you. Rafael Joe Rubio. Barrett is a 69% free throw shooter. Let's get that to 75 or 78. That's a 25-point game. It is.
Yeah, it is.
And it's those. That's the question I think about the Knicks right now is how much of that development's happening.
Yeah.
And RJ Barrett is a handling guy. RJ Barrett is a Chris Brickley guy. I mean, those are the little things that those guys preach.
Yes.
You have to take advantage of the small details in your game to excel. And I think RJ Barrett's that guy. This is a big moment in time for RJ Barrett.
Bro, this is a big moment in time for a lot of guys that are in and around this deal. I mean, again, like, yes, RJ Barrett, yes, Jalen Brunson, yes, Mitchell Robinson, all huge years for those guys. Obviously, as we've said a million times on the show, it's a huge year for Donovan Mitchell.
Yes.
And I think this concept of like, hey, if the deal happens or doesn't happen, depending on what happens, who has the biggest year? So as an example, if you don't do the deal and Don comes out and averages 30 a night, by, as the commenter said, getting to the line more, making his free throws, becoming that more dominant offensive personality, how do you feel if you're Leon Rose? Do you then feel like, hey, maybe I should have included Grimes in it, But if Donnie comes out and is the same guy he was and doesn't really improve, then maybe you feel differently. But that's kind of my point. Like, Jalen Brunson, hey, dude, you just signed this huge deal, might want to perform this year. RJ might want to perform a little bit better this year. These guys are all on prove-it deals, and that's why I say if you're the Knicks, you have to take this one final step, whether it's Donovan Mitchell or whoever the guy is.
You got to be brave, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes a lot of courage to do that. Amber, good morning to you. She says, I'll be here for the daily Donnie Doppler.
Yeah.
You
see what I mean?
ASAP.
Donnie Doppler, let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Love you, Amber. Good to see you, my friend. Let's see who else. Natalie Case says, Devery's my guy. Love him. Oh, that's nice, Natalie. Appreciate that. Chosen One says, Don to Charlotte. Did you guys see the fake Shams trade on Sunday night that lit the world on fire? So many people were like, oh, God. That was amazing. Let's see. Otzi says, yes, I finally got up early enough to make the live chat.
Yes.
Osti, good to see you, my friend.
Let's go.
Knicks will be 2026 NBA champs. Where you been, 2026? Says, name a team that can trade for Spida without giving up their top 3 players. That would not make this trade.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is. This is not an easy trade to make. And I think, again, as we've talked all about this Donovan Mitchell stuff, I mean, that's why, as well as I think Leon Rose has done here, I think Danny Ainge has done a really good job holding that bar high. Both of these guys, this tells you the level of operation that these two are working at.
Seriously.
Because either one of them could have easily caved. Most general managers, I think most executives would have caved on this.
Yes.
There's reasons to cave on both sides of it. Neither one of them did.
This again.
They're two professionals, man. And I think if you're a Jazz fan, you should be incredibly excited about what Danny Ainge is doing, because I think he's bringing a really different way of doing business. Danny Ainge is not the guy that would have paid Rudy Gobert 23% of your salary cap.
And with all due respect,
Like he just isn't worth that. He just is not worth that. Let's see. Chosen spot just keeps saying Don to Charlotte.
Well, I mean, again, put it out in the universe, speak it into existence, right? Maybe it happens.
Maybe. M. Shepard, good morning to you. Ainge did not, quote unquote, outbid himself. Don is a beast and is only getting better. And I love that level of awareness of how special Donovan Mitchell is.
Yeah.
Because, again, I just point to my childhood and Michael Jordan. Until I covered him professionally, I didn't appreciate Michael Jordan. I didn't watch every single Michael Jordan game that I could.
Yeah.
Once I started covering him, I never missed a home game.
Well, and I think,
never.
Danny Ainge is uniquely qualified to say, hey, this guy has the goods, that guy does not, and sort of look at a guy in his game and understand who's got it and who doesn't, and I think Donovan's got it. I just think that's not in dispute.
Kay Nurin, good morning to you. Kay, New York still needs Don to get better and make the jump. I don't disagree with that either. Top Junkie disagrees, I guarantee that. We do not need DM as much as Danny Fleece needs picks. Just the facts. Well, I don't think he needs picks. I think Danny wants picks. I mean, if this current roster with the Utah Jazz goes to training camp, they'll score 110 points a night. Now, they're probably going to give up 179 points a night because they can't defend you, Top Junkie.
I started having second
right?
thoughts.
I mean, they can't defend you, sir. But I don't think Danny needs picks. Danny needs to trade Bojan Bogdanovic and Mike Conley.
Yeah.
That's what Danny needs to do. The question is, what is his appetite to trade all 4 of Don, Conley, Bogey, and Clarkson? Is he willing to do that? In multiple trades, in one trade, is he willing to do that?
Yeah.
I wonder what his appetite to do that is. Because, by the way, anybody notice that Jordan Clarkson, granted, it's competition, Jordan Clarkson looks pretty good over in international right now. Homie looks
Just
like
saying,
he's
putting the ball in the hole.
Whew, you ain't kidding. T-Money! What's up, T? Good to see you. Leon just gave a lesson in negotiations to Ainge. See, I don't think either side won or lost here. I think if and Adrian Wojnarowski, ESPN. And I'll put up this other tweet by Woj as well, where it says New York's Leon Rose set a Monday night deadline with Utah to reach out an agreement on a trade for Mitchell, or the Knicks would commit to Barrett extension. Knicks Jazz closed gap on deal points in recent days on a Mitchell trade, but neither would go further.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you really seeing in this tweet from Woj? When you're looking at this tweet, what is it that you're really getting out of Leon Rose here? Leon Rose said, if we're not going to do this deal today, I need to move on. I need to get the RJ Barrett deal done, which tells you Leon Rose was communicating to RJ Barrett that there was a chance that he was going to be in that deal.
Yeah.
I can only say so many times, Danny Ainge and Donovan Mitchell's camp, Ryan Smith, Danny Ainge, and Ryan, is important in this conversation. Ryan Smith, Danny Ainge, and Donovan Mitchell have all been in contact. It's not a secret. Yeah, it's not a secret what's going on.
Yeah.
You can't let these things linger with a guy like RJ Barrett.
Yeah.
If RJ Barrett is going to be a Knick, he needs to be a Knick all the way without question.
Well, and I think you have this minimum bar that you're trying to reach if you're the Knicks. I mean, you have the Donovan Mitchell conversation ongoing. Who the hell knows when it's going to end? But the fact is you got to be selfish too and take care of you. Like, you have to be able to say, yeah, we've got Jalen, Mitchell, and RJ. We've got those three guys. Those are going to be our workhorses in the starting five, and then we'll build around that, and we'll see what we can get done. I mean,
exactly
I don't think that you're, again, I'm just going to keep saying it, not to be repetitive, but like, you're not in a position to take a chance on players right now. If you're the Knicks, you need to get a starting five solidified. That starting five has to be reliable. It has to be durable. And you have to have a clear alpha. And I think right now that alpha is Jalen Brunson. But I think we can all agree Jalen Brunson is not really an alpha by league terms. So that's why I think they want Donovan Mitchell. That's why they wanted Kevin Durant before that situation got resolved. And so my question for the Knicks simply is, if you don't get Donovan Mitchell, who else are you going to try and go and get? Because it's not like there's guys like Donning falling off of trees. That's
right.
the problem.
Well, and I also think you just need to keep being pragmatic and calculated if you're Leon Rose. Because everything he's done to date, look how much heat Leon took on draft night.
Dude, seriously. Yeah.
And it's all worked out really well. Just keep being pragmatic. Dylan Rodriguez gives us a $2 tip. Appreciate you, Dylan.
Thank you.
He says, anything the Mavs have that you take for Clarkson? Well, I think the Mavs are another team that would really like to be a third player. And I think that because I think the Mavs know that Tim Hardaway Jr. has value, especially to the LA Lakers. I think the Lakers would really like to add Tim Hardaway Jr. I think they've not made that a secret. But, I mean, I was looking at the Mavs cap on Sunday night. I was laying in bed not wearing many clothes.
Really?
And,
really?
No.
Really?
I just needed to fill the bridge until I could type Mavs salary cap.
Come on, man.
Salary cap app. And the Mavs, if you look at the Mavs, I think the biggest contract problem you have is Davis Bertans.
Yeah.
Because Davis is making $16 million. But I think the other guy that's making a lot of money now that there are questions about is Dorian Finney-Smith. I mean, Dorian's making $12.4 million, which in NBA circles isn't a whole lot of money. But it's enough money where you're wondering, am I getting value for that? Having said that, I don't know that the Jazz have interest in that. Not certainly enough. The problem is, I think the Mavericks already have Jordan Clarkson on their roster and a guy like Reggie Bullock. You already have Jordan Clarkson on your roster and a guy like Dorian Finney-Smith. And I don't think that Jordan has what's the right way to say this? The filter for good shot, bad shot.
Yeah, his shot selection is terrible. I mean, he'll take whatever he wants.
I love the guy. I love Jordan because he has no memory, none whatsoever. He has no conscience. But at times that comes back to bite you in the ass a little bit.
Yeah.
And in Dallas right now, I would think that your mindset is that of winning the Western Conference this year.
Wow.
Honest to goodness, I think that's where your mind is at. I don't know that you can do that paying Davis Bertans $16 million.
And I don't know that you can do that without Jalen Brunson. I don't know that you can do that by losing that type of talent. I mean, you are in a position where it's Luka and everybody else now, and that to me is a mid-table playoff team. That to me is not a Western Conference Finals team. That's just my opinion. I mean, I think obviously you're right. Like, hey, mentally you're probably telling yourself, yeah, I want to try to win the Western Conference this year as any other year, but I just don't think that the Mavericks are talented enough right now. I mean, you look at, again, the difference between the East and the West is that the West is incredibly deep. I mean, you look at the top of the West. I would agree with that. And yeah. you've got like 5-6 teams.
In the West, you have Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota in the West and stuff, But the point is that it's just 5-6 teams deep, and I don't think that you can be, again, all due respect, as the saying goes, the Utah Jazz found out that you can't be mediocre and think that you're going to make a run at the Western Conference, which is exactly what happened last year. So I just don't think that the Dallas Mavericks have, A, anything the Utah Jazz would be interested in, and B, I don't think the Dallas Mavericks are some serious threat to win the conference. They're just not talented enough right now.
But I also think they're going to be one of the teams that are in commerce in September.
That might be true.
I think they're going to be busy. I think you look at the Western Conference in September.
Yeah.
How many top teams in the West are going to be busy? Well, I think certainly the Lakers are. By the way, this probably is way off the reservation. Did you guys see what John Wall said yesterday?
Yeah. That's not great.
Dude, so I think one of the things that's so fascinating about the NBA is that you get a guy like John Wall, Russell Westbrook, Brick. You get a guy like Russell Westbrook, John Wall, dynamic personalities, but they're really struggling.
Yeah.
Injuries, performance. Hey, we're going to send you home. Hey, we're not going to play you. Hey, you're going to be in a suit. Hey, your mom gets cancer. Hey, you hold her hand while she takes her last breath. Hey, you tore your Achilles. Hey, you hurt your knee. John Wall said yesterday, he told Clutch Points that he was contemplating suicide because he had lost so much in basketball and so much in his personal life with tragedy that he seriously contemplated suicide. A, I think it's incredibly brave for a guy like John Wall to come out and say that. B, I think it tells you how little money matters to these guys when you make the kind of money they make. And C, you have to remember, and this is why we have a policy on this show. We don't sit here and like, okay, well, I think they're going to trade Donnie for a bag of balls.
You're casual.
And maybe some Gatorade towels. That's not what we do on this show. We don't guess at where guys are going. We very rarely, if ever, will say, well, Donovan Mitchell or hey, they're going to do, like, we just don't guess about guys' career moves because this is their entire life. And we forget that they're human beings. We're talking about RJ Barrett, a human being. Donovan Mitchell, a human being.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about John Wall. You should go back and listen to that interview. The interview that Clutch Points did with him was spectacular.
Yeah.
And
top notch.
The courage that it takes for a man, and I don't care if you're a construction worker, a lawyer, a pimp, a basketball player, it doesn't matter to me. The courage it takes for a man to step up and say, hey, I'm really struggling with my mental health. Do you know how hard that is?
Facts.
Let alone for that to be somebody that's a multi-millionaire, a professional athlete who's viewed as somebody that should, to shut up and dribble and you make money, go be happy. Like,
yeah,
the courage it takes to do that. I was really happy for John Wall. I actually felt happy for him that he was able to talk about, hey, I contemplated suicide.
Yeah.
The strength, the courage. Can you imagine the release that must be? Now, frankly, I'll be really honest with you. I am very fortunate. I do not battle mental health. I have many people in my life who battle mental health. I know people. I have been around people who have committed suicide. Like I've been involved in that. I personally have never had to deal with that in my life. The release that it is to talk about it. The freedom that comes with that. I was just so happy for John Wall yesterday. So I don't mean to espouse or go too far into this, but good for you, John Wall. I was really, really happy for you. Rafael Joel Rubio gives us a $2 tip and says, hey, just followed you on Twitter. Great content, guys. Appreciate that.
Appreciate that, bro.
Thank you very much. Really do. Let's see. K. Nurin. Yes, Don's a star already. He could become the next Kobe or Michael, so pay price to New York.
I don't know about Kobe
pay the
or
price,
Michael.
New York.
I don't know about Kobe or Michael, but I think that he can be, championship.
There
for sure.
will never be another Kobe or Michael or LeBron.
Yeah.
There's never going to be another Don. That drives me crazy. I can't. Hey, Kay, I love having you here, and I think you're one of our best listeners, frankly. But I hate the idea that we can compare, like, look at BYU. Wow, who's the next Heisman? Who's the next Ty Detmer? Can Jaron Hall be Zach Wilson? Like, we just need to let them percolate. Enjoy who Enjoy who Michael and Kobe were. Percolate. T-Money says Ainge thought he would be able to fleece Leon. Barrett was never available. I agree.
Yes, but I don't.
And I don't think that Danny valued RJ Barrett.
I think it's a stretch to say Danny thought he could fleece somebody. I think Danny is committed to his structure and his plan, and if that comes off as people thinking he's trying to fleece somebody, great. But I don't think that Danny Ainge is like, yeah, I'm trying to fleece Leon Rose and the Knicks suck. I don't think
I'm going to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I just don't think that that's what it is.
You're going down, Leon.
Yes, yes.
The petals are falling off the rose. No, okay, I'll stop. Let's see. Blood of DePanta.
Who the fuck are you?
Hey, this is my guy, Blood of DePanta. How are you guys? Let me bring in my bro here. You know what it is? Okay, so you don't have the money. You can't afford to pay me back, like the money I lent you. Let me show you this is my friend Blood of DePanta.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Go ahead and make a payment arrangement with him. That's what that's what it feels like.
That's like some John Wick stuff.
No, that's like some Sopranos stuff.
Okay.
Sopranos?
Right, Sopranos.
Okay. Ainge has gotten a number of fair deals and will lose assets off those deals from here. This is a masterclass by Leon Rose.
Maybe.
Okay. I just don't go too far with it. Leon's done an incredible job so far. T-Money, we build with a deep, solid team we have. Someone will want to come to New York. I agree with that.
That's right, T.
That's right. Thank you. See? He gets it.
Oh, my God.
Rudy Sanchez, Jazz just need to move on to this season and find some pieces to put around Mitchell. I would agree. Jesse P. Brunson really shined because Luka got so much attention.
Yeah.
Well, here's the question. When Luka was out, who carried the team? Jalen Brunson. Who, when Luka came back, suffered? Jalen Brunson.
Mm-hmm.
So is it that Luka allowed Brunson to shine? Or did Luka push down because Luka never passes? He's a black hole. Ball goes in, never comes out. My feeling is more to the point that Luka Doncic, I think, held Jalen Brunson back. I think Jalen Brunson, he has the potential, and that's a dirty, nasty word, potential. He's got the potential to be the best point guard in the NBA. I think he can score with anybody. I think he is a different kind of scorer than a Steph Curry.
Yeah.
He uses the air to back you
that
down.
Booty.
Plays in the mid-range, loves playing in the paint, can bang, is durable.
Yeah.
Takes Royce O'Neal cheap shots in the back. I think
Take me outside. How about that?
I think Jalen Brunson's that dirty dog, right? I think there's a lot of value in that, and if he's giving you 20 to 25 points, you need him to dime out, though. You need him to make RJ Barrett a better player. My question is, who do they go and get? Because you can't tell me, if they don't trade for Donovan Mitchell, you can't tell me that Leon Rose is just going to bring this team to camp.
Yeah. I
don't think that's the case.
No way.
I don't think that's the case. BB, good morning. You may never have missed a Bulls home game, but the refs missed a bunch of Jordan push-offs. Just call it. See,
I don't. Did you see a push-off? Because I don't think there was a whistle blown.
Let me go back and check the record.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think.
Here, let me pull up the calls in that game where Michael Jordan hit the game winner. One of the greatest shots of all time.
Right.
Forever, like in the history of the NBA.
Right.
That Michael Jordan.
It was a push-off.
So the next time you drive by a cop and it's speeding and he doesn't give you a ticket or pull you over, are you just going to turn around, circle back, and say, "Hey, Officer Jimmy, good to see you, sir. Thanks for your service. I was just doing 59 and a 35. Could you write me a ticket?"
Are we clear on that?
It's only a ticket if, it's only speeding if they write you a ticket.
Is this the dagger?
If it's a strike, if it's in the zone, they can only call it a strike if he raises his arm. Right? You know what I'm getting at. It's only a foul if he blows a whistle. Did he blow the whistle? I didn't hear one.
Here's when a conversation gets difficult.
He didn't blow the whistle. Oh, well, the crowd was really loud. The Mormons were crazy that night. Well, that could be. Didn't make the call. And last I checked, the ball still went in the hole. That's why I have a flu game license plate.
All due respect.
Suck it. Anyway, no, I'm kidding. Totally kidding. BB, love you. Let's see. San Diego State Aztecs 21 says naked on black sheets. Absolutely.
That's right, T.
Silk I only lay on the finest silk from dead moths of Istanbul. My skin is soft and supple.
Right.
I deserve the best.
Right.
I think that's HIPAA.
I actually use like 3 thread cotton sheets from Price Club. You know.
I'm sorry if you're offended by that.
Price Club. Where's that from?
Wolf of Wall Street.
Price Club.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who you're going home with.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay. This has gotten awkward. Asgill says, a masterclass by Leon Rose, LOL. Congrats for setting an ultimatum and sticking to it. Must be surprising to see that as a Knicks fan. Well, that's this one slide. Okay. I don't disagree. Caleb says Dorian is an excellent role player. He is. He's not a guy that you can lean on, though. Let's see. M. Shepard, all the pressure is on Don to be the hype. Well, now, I mean, all the pressure, no. All the pressure is on Quentin Grimes. Because why did you not trade him? Why?
Yeah.
Why'd you not trade him? He's amazing. Well, he better be. Or Knick fans are going to hang you. Mari Morris says, is Jordan Clarkson staying in Utah? Same with Spida. I don't know. I think if Danny Ainge could trade Jordan Clarkson, Bojan Bogdanovic, and Mike Conley, I think he would do it.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's available. I mean, let's not beat around the bush here. Everyone's available. It's just a matter of what the deal looks like and why Danny Ainge would do that particular deal, whichever player you're talking about, you know? So I think that he would like to keep Jordan Clarkson. I mean, I think Jordan has been a great Jazz man. I think he's represented the organization really well. Frankly, he was the one that, you know, took a hit for the team and put the ugly highlighter yellow uniforms on first in the hype video. So, I mean, you know, the guy's got some cred in the locker room for that. You know, but yeah, I think that everyone's available. And I think that's the hard part right now when we ask the question of, is JC going to be here? Is Don going to be here? Well, it's hard to say. That's the honest answer.
Talking NBA hoops, Jazz Knicks right now on Monty in the morning. TC says Jazz should tank for the French kid. Victor Wembanyama is your mama. Nah.
You know.
Nah, I'm not interested, bro.
He's 7'3" and 104 pounds. Like, we've seen that movie before, dude. Those guys don't generally
ask
pan
Chet
out.
Holmgren what that's like.
Those guys don't pan out. And I'm not building my team around a 7'3" kid. I'm not. And I know he's not your traditional center, and he's the next Kevin Durant. His arms are as long as the Florida Peninsula.
You think you know it all.
I don't care. I'm not building my team around a guy that's... honestly, I think he is under 200. He's 7'3", and he's under 200 pounds.
This is a code 10 abort.
Guy, my left thigh is 200 pounds. Like, what are you talking about? Feed that kid some fettuccine.
Yeah. Maybe a little chicken in there.
Yeah, clog his arteries. Let's see. That's how you gain weight. Fettuccine is never. Fat. Eat some pasta, fat ass.
Yeah, some penne.
Yeah, some gabagool.
Some rigatoni.
You know, like
yeah,
salami
come on, let's
stuff.
go.
All right, Mari Morris. Jordan Clarkson is a great player. He is. He is a very good player. M. Shepard says, let's sit back and watch what Don will do. He's on deck. He is. I think if Donovan Mitchell, and I think it's 65-35. Donovan Mitchell goes to camp with the Jazz on the the Donnie Doppler radar.
Yes.
I think it is 65-35 he goes to camp. Tony Peak says Utah media is crazy. No, they're not. There is no Utah media.
Yeah, that doesn't really
Utah
exist,
media?
bro.
Like, there is so little media there's no, and this is part of the problem with the Jazz. This is like BYU, and I think this is a really interesting discussion, frankly.
Yeah.
Look at what happened at BYU on Friday.
Yeah.
Right. And people, if you don't know, a Duke volleyball player, a freshman who is a young black woman, comes to Provo to play volleyball with Duke. She gets racially abused. And the media covers the story on Friday, a little bit on Saturday. Okay. The national media, Tom Homo's on CNN and CNBC yesterday, like, national media is all in.
Yeah.
Local media, yesterday is week 1 press conference, getting ready for South Florida, BYU football. Here's head coach Kalani Sitake on BYU radio.
Yeah.
All right, Kalani, how's the quarterback? Hey, Hey, did you guys dunk the footballs in water to get ready for rain? Hey, you know it's going to be humid there. Hey, what are you guys going to eat? Hey, by the way, do you tie your shoes over or under? Hey, I'm just curious. Are you guys going to wear jock straps, or are you just going to push the cup into your compression shorts? Like all the questions you would normally ask of a football coach getting ready for week 1.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Next question.
Never mind that Kalani is, a Polynesian. He's a brown-skinned man. Like, he understands, like, there are racial issues. Like, you would ask this guy that, right? There was one question asked.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the last question. And it was like, hey, there was a racial issue. And you guys are playing a game this weekend, How
do you make sure the culture in the locker room is basically intact? How do you handle this internally?
Did you guys fill the bus up with gas? And by the way, how's the culture on that racial issue?
You know what they should have asked him?
Is there jet fuel in the plane to fly down to Florida?
Bro, you know what they should have asked him?
What?
Hey, Kalani, obviously you know what happened Friday, over there in volleyball. You heard what happened with the Duke volleyball player. How do you feel about that? What goes through your mind when you hear that? Like,
you know what they should have asked him? Hey, Kalani, I'm sure you're aware of what happened with BYU fans racially abusing a young black woman that was here to play volleyball for Duke. What are your thoughts on that? Hey, by the way, I have a follow-up question too as well. Can you talk about your experience with race and being Polynesian? What's been your experience with race here at BYU?
Yeah, please respect my privacy. Next question.
Hey, one other question, real quick follow-up. Hey, did you address this issue with your football team? Obviously, you have a lot of black players on your team. You have a lot of non-LDS, non-members, that are dark-skinned and different ethnicities on your football team. Hey, did you guys have a conversation about, the incident?
Yeah, next question.
Instead, we get jet fuel for the plane flight. Like, we get stupid, scared to ask the question, so let me ramble and ask about other things not really about this question.
Yeah.
Did anybody ask Jaron Hall about it?
Nope.
Did anybody ask any of the other players about it?
Nope.
They didn't. And it's so frustrating to me that there is zero media accountability. And what we talked about, and the truth of the matter is, and the reason that on this show we are wholly independent, we work for nobody. We do not work for the Jazz. We are not owned by the church. Nothing. Mm-hmm. Right? We are not we are not LDS. None of that.
Facts.
What is the major sports property broadcast wise in Utah? It's KSL.
Yeah.
And the KSL Sports Zone. Who owns that? Bonneville, which is owned by the Latter-day Saints. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints owns Bonneville.
Right.
Right? Who has the rights to BYU football? KSL does. Who has the rights to Utah Jazz basketball? KSL does.
God bless.
Okay, so when you turn on the Zone yesterday here in Utah, did you hear a single word? On a Monday morning, did you hear a single word? On a Monday midday show, on a Monday afternoon drive show, did you hear a single word about what happened with Duke volleyball and that player being racially abused in Provo on the campus at BYU? Did you hear a single word about it? Not a single word uttered about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because they're owned by the church. So they're not going to talk about that, right? So Danny Ainge, let's just assume Danny got fleeced. Oh, he got his ass handed to him by Leon Rose. Anybody going to ask him about that? Let's say Donovan Mitchell comes back to camp.
Mm-hmm.
Media day happens. Anybody asking, hey, Danny, what happened with that trade? Hey, were you really close? How close were you? Was there any time where you felt like this deal was going to happen? Donovan, have you ever demanded a trade? Donovan, how much does, because one of the major questions for Donovan Mitchell is, how much does race play a role in your desire or lack of desire to be a Utah Jazz man?
Mm-hmm.
Do you still want to play for the Jazz? Were you hoping to be traded to the Knicks?
Hey, Donovan, was it upsetting to spend your summer in the news cycle?
Will you hear any of that? And my guess is you won't. And why is that? Because the Utah Jazz own the media in this town. So my guess is you won't.
And so does BYU. And so does Utah football.
My guess is you won't. And that's just like, look at this Aaron Rodgers situation. Have you guys, I don't know if you guys have heard this Aaron Rodgers clip. Aaron Rodgers went back on the Joe Rogan show. And Aaron Rodgers, so let's get this really clear. Aaron Rodgers owns Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is going to ask him. And we talked about this, and people got really upset when we said, well, nobody asks questions. Nobody follows up. Like the biggest bone of contention with most media members is they refuse to ask follow-up questions because they don't listen to what the answer is, right? That's my single biggest complaint with the media. And people are like, oh, you're just arrogant and you think you know it all. Well, maybe I do know it all, and I am good looking. I admit that. I am really attractive. But the point is, I ask follow-up questions.
Right.
Listen to what Aaron Rodgers told Joe Rogan about his, I'm immunized thing with the media last year.
I'd been ready the entire time for this question and had thought about how I wanted to answer it. And I had come to the conclusion, I'm going to say, I've been immunized. And if there's a follow-up, then talk about my process. But thought there's a possibility that I say I'm immunized. Maybe they understand what that means. Maybe they don't. Maybe they follow up. They didn't follow up. So then I go the season, them thinking, some of them, that I was vaccinated, right? Because the only follow-up they asked was basically asking me to rip on my teammates. Like, what do you say to your teammates who aren't vaccinated? Like, what kind of example do you feel like you're setting, to your teammates who aren't vaccinated? I said, hey, it's everybody's own decision with their body, and we're super healthy individuals. We take care of ourselves. We understand what goes in our bodies, and I don't have any judgment on any decision that a guy makes with their own body.
So Aaron Rodgers just straight up told you right there, well, nobody at that stupid media, they didn't ask a follow-up question.
Yeah, I've been immunized.
Do they know what immunized means?
Yeah, I've been immunized.
Fucking idiots. Like, what? That's what Aaron Rodgers just said right there.
Yeah.
The media, if they ask a follow-up question, I'm just going to talk about my process.
Yeah, I've been immunized.
The only follow-up question those morons asked was about asking me to rip my teammates. Do you think anybody in the Green Bay media knows what immunized means?
Yeah, I've been immunized.
I have to think they do. Now, did they before he said that? I have to think they do.
Before he said that, Aaron Rodgers is well known as someone who's not about the vax life, not about putting things into his body he's not comfortable with. He's one of those individuals.
But the question is, should they have asked a follow-up? Does anybody think that Leon Rose is going to get questioned by the New York media about this?
Yeah, I've been immunized.
Leon Rose is going to get asked questions about Donovan Mitchell as soon as he makes himself available.
Yep.
He's going to get asked questions about this.
Yep.
Do you think RJ Barrett's going to get asked questions about this? Dollars to donuts. Who wants to bet that the New York media asked Quentin Grimes, hey, rumor says and news says that, Leon and the Knicks didn't want to trade you. They value you very highly. Do you feel any pressure to perform?
Yeah, I've been immunized.
My guess that question's going to get asked.
Yep.
I have no idea if anybody's going to ask important questions of Donovan Mitchell. I mean, the Jazz own the newspaper, so the beat writers aren't going to ask about it, right? Like the Des News, I love Sarah Todd. She's a feature writer. She's not somebody that breaks news, right? Like I look at, all my eggs are in the Tony Jones basket. Tony Jones at The Athletic. That's the guy that I count on.
Yeah.
Because he isn't owned by the church, and he's not owned by the Jazz, and he's not owned by BYU.
Well, and it makes it so that Ryan Smith doesn't have to come out and make comments. It makes it so that, we get sweetheart interviews at the beginning of the offseason with Danny Ainge and then inevitably with Will Hardy at the practice facility, and that's basically it.
Austie says that Danny Ainge has been working the NBA like a 23-year-old Brazilian on OnlyFans that's, quote, working her way through college. So
he allegedly said what he said.
Bro, is that a
bro? What
is that a compliment or no? He said Danny Ainge has been working the NBA like a 23-year-old Brazilian OnlyFans girl. Note on the graphic, OnlyFans is one word. So my man,
my man's a paid professional.
You're a subscriber.
Yeah, he's a subscriber to OnlyFans.
Let's go.
Get it. Okay.
I thought porn was free in this country.
No, he's straight pile driving.
Why are you subscribing to OnlyFans? Anyway, Danny Ainge has been working the NBA like a 23-year-old Brazilian OnlyFans girl that's quote-unquote working her way through college.
I've always stood on my innocence.
And, of course, Ken Williams likes to point out that I thought, Jake, Minnesota was in the East.
Well, you know.
One time he said that.
Why don't you illuminate me?
Every day. Adele Chapman says, your trade value is as high as the trade market allows, not what one thinks the player is worth.
Correct.
Will Gobert not more than Spider? Oh, yeah, because nobody's ever making that trade again.
Yeah.
You want to talk about pressure.
You want to talk about fleecing. Bro.
What if Minnesota doesn't win the Western Conference? What if Minnesota doesn't win an NBA title and you're paying Karl Anthony Towns?
Do you think they'll ask Rudy or Karl Anthony Towns?
And Rudy Gobert $100 million. Do you think anybody's going to ask about Yusuf Nurkic kicking the crap out of Rudy Gobert the other night?
Yeah, I've been immunized.
You're paying Karl Anthony Towns.
Hey, Rudy, bro.
I think next year or 2 years, the combined salaries of Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert are $100 million for two centers. You're paying centers $100 million. Good luck,
bro. Dude,
maybe you should be in the East because you ain't winning the West with that.
I don't know what that pathway looks like, man.
Asgill says, man, John Wall has had a wild career, not to mention his off-court stuff. Mom, grandma, COVID, injuries. Yeah, no kidding.
Dude.
Caleb says, respect John Wall. No matter how much money you have, you can't fix your body and save your loved ones. No, you can't.
Yeah.
Money does not buy you happiness. It does buy you OnlyFans, but it doesn't buy you, which could, for a minute, probably in your case, like 28 seconds, buy you some happiness.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Y'all want to play.
Let's see.
Bro.
I don't know where this show went. Mark Barrington says, if the Lakers were involved in a three-way Don trade, why would Lakers have interest from the Jazz apart from Don? Well, for a couple of reasons. One, they want to offload Russell Westbrook's contract.
They need to. Bro.
2, they need a point guard.
Yeah.
And 3, they need Bojan Bogdanović to shoot threes out of the corner. Because if it is in fact true that Anthony Davis is not going to be a corner 3 guy anymore, he's going to be their true 5, they're going to have to figure it out because right now, I mean, who's your starting point guard in LA?
You don't have one.
I don't think you have one.
Well, and remember the formula they used to win their championship in the bubble, which I know a lot of people discount, but I don't. Still championship. Still goes down as a championship. Cantavius Caldwell-Pope damn near shot you to that championship. So you haven't had that corner 3 sniper for a couple of seasons.
Another guy that was vastly underappreciated.
Yeah, but my point is, with that, adding, Bojan Bogdanović in the corner, somebody who is proven to be a knockdown shooter, and putting Anthony Davis back in the middle, I just think is a recipe for success. Allow Anthony Davis to use his athleticism and quickness to beat 5s, and then only ask Bojan Bogdanović to do what Bojan Bogdanović does, which is shoot the basketball at a high rate.
TC, you're not very nice.
Uh-oh.
He says that VW will come to the U.S. and gain weight fast. They'll just put him on the Zion Williamson diet.
First team all fat ass. Let's go. Let's go. Zion Williamson, baby. Let's go. I need him on that James Harden diet. That's what I need him on.
Another guy on a prove it year.
Yes, dude.
Zion Williamson.
Yes,
and what is he? He's in great shape. Caleb says clog his arteries, LOL. That's all I'm saying. A couple more on this. Top Junkie says Lakers are going to sign Dennis Schroeder. Why? Why Dennis Schroeder? I truly don't understand it. Jesse P says the clown is a person asking about someone's personal health decisions. The clown is a person. Who's asking about somebody's personal?
That's an Aaron Rodgers reference.
Okay. Well, what do you... No, man.
Yeah, just move on from now.
You know. The Nick of Time show said, y'all told us Knicks fans all month Jazz weren't rebuilding. Then Woj writes Jazz are rebuilding in his article. Well, I mean, you can say they're rebuilding. You can write they're rebuilding. And Woj is the god. I mean, he's the Don. He's Tony Soprano of the ESPN stuff.
Yeah. Tony.
Okay, if he says they're rebuilding, but let's say they're rebuilding when they are actually rebuilding, because they haven't done a thing that says they're rebuilding.
Yeah.
If you trade Donovan Mitchell for an absolute haul of picks, you're rebuilding. But they haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
And Danny Ainge has held the bar incredibly high. Could they go into a rebuilding mode? Yes. Right now, they're retooling because Boyan and Clarkson and Mike and Don.
Mike?
The Donnie Doppler is still active here in the great state of Utah.
Yeah.
You haven't rebuilt yet. So as soon as you trade Donovan Mitchell, yes, I would agree they're rebuilding. I think Danny Ainge has flexibility. I think Danny Ainge has 100% autonomy to do whatever the hell he wants.
By the way, if you trade Donovan Mitchell, you really think they're going to go into tank mode and try to get the first overall pick? No, they're not. That's not Danny Ainge. What they're going to do instead is, they're not going to be a good team, but he's going to trade all that asset to get players back that he can then go and chase.
And this is, I think, the main point. You are only rebuilding if you actually go and do the deals to rebuild. And they've had chances and they have passed. So I don't know. And I guess the question I would ask you is if you look at Donovan Mitchell's deal, he is well paid. He's $30 million a year. If you had to guess, what do you think his absolute upside is? Like numbers, comparisons, where do you think he goes at the top of his game?
I mean, I think that he's somebody that can be Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. Like, he can get to that level. I think that Donovan Mitchell is somebody who just has simply a lot of proving to do. When you're $30 million a year and you're not winning, that's a problem. Furthermore, I would say that the fact that he hasn't won is affecting the Knicks deal. So where can he go? What's the ceiling he can get to? I think his ceiling is the top of the league. And I also think a part of that conversation is a lot of guys are going to start aging out of the league. Steph Curry doesn't have a decade left, in my opinion. I mean, he could physically play for a decade, but at this level, he's probably got 2-3 seasons left at this level of his game. LeBron, 4 years maybe. I mean, 5 years. I know he wants to play with Bronny, but like if you consider all these guys at the top of the league, they are aging out, man. So when I look at Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, I look at all these guys that are Donovan Mitchell's age. They have to step up now. It's time. So, I do think Donovan can get to the top of the league, but I don't know which path is better for him, frankly, because I could make a strong case that staying in Utah and being the absolute face of the franchise will allow you to put up numbers and put up big-time numbers.
Oh, I think it's easy to make the case that the best-case scenario for both the Jazz and for Don is to stay in Utah. Because I think Don has to prove himself. I think with what happened in the playoffs the last 3 seasons, their inability to win in the bubble, their inability to hit a big shot, the fact that he was not given the ball in 2 of their biggest shots in franchise history, that it went to Boyan and Mike Conley, I think Don's got a lot to prove. Can Donovan Mitchell play 82 games a year? Can Donovan Mitchell play 100 games a year? Because that's what it's going to take to win a championship. Don's never proven that he can do that.
Yep.
He has never proven that as the guy with a team built around him, he can be your alpha.
Donnie, please.
Is he that guy? I don't know. I think that's a huge question.
That's what he's got to answer.
Is Donovan Mitchell a guy that you can absolutely, without question, build a franchise around?
No.
Not right now, he's not. So We'll see. Let's see. Smooth B says, he didn't even speak when they signed Jalen Brunson. He does not speak to the media. Are you talking about Leon? I think Leon was forced to speak to the media. What was that, a month ago or so? I think he will. Guys like Leon Rose, especially in a city like New York, know that they only speak when they need to or when they're forced to. And I would speak with the media as little as possible. And the funny thing is, Danny Ainge almost never meets with the media. Leon Rose almost never meets with the media. The Utah Jazz have been eerily quiet.
Mm-hmm.
They've had major stories and not said a word about it. And again, because there's no accountability. But what happened in New York? The media went to the league, and all of a sudden Leon Rose made a statement. So the media is willing to, make some noise in New York to make sure they get what they need. I don't think the media here is willing to do that. T-Money says, Timberwolves got fleeced. They ain't winning nothing. Cat will want to come to New York. I'm not sure how to break this to you, but not every player wants to be a Knick. The Knicks, the Nick of Time show says, I was getting flamed by Utah fans for believing my own eyes. Well, it depends on what you believed.
But I think it also, who cares about getting, flamed by Utah Jazz fans or getting hated on like, who cares, bro? Like, at the end of the day, we've been, again, not to be arrogant, but we've been right for a long time. Our track record's well established, and there's a new hater every day. They come out of the woodwork, man. It's just that's what the sports world does. But I think that you just have to stay consistent. You have to not report things or talk about things that are outlandish. And so that's what we do on this show. We are having an honest to goodness, down-to-earth conversation about where this situation is at. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I have some crystal ball or know everything. But what I'm telling you is that they never prioritized RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett was never someone that Danny Ainge wanted, and we've been saying that for like 8 weeks now. That's just been a well-known fact, and Knick fans, you can say what you want. And it's no disrespect to RJ. I'm just telling you, Danny didn't value RJ Barrett. So I don't think that this news that came out, I guess would that have been yesterday, midday, that they signed him to a rookie extension max or whatever, and, they got that deal done. I wasn't surprised by that. That's not some shocking turn of events. And frankly, this Leon Rose arbitrary deadline of, hey, you need to make a decision on RJ Barrett, what really is that? That's a media play so that Leon can try to get some leverage because Danny Ainge didn't value RJ Barrett. Danny was probably saying, hey, great, go sign your boy. Like, we don't need him. We don't want him. He's not part of this deal. So, I don't know. We'll see. I just think that Danny Ainge is stubborn as hell and is not going to do dumb deals, which is a huge change for the Utah Jazz.
No, and there's no reason for him to do that. I mean, I think the thing that is very clear is that I just think that you have a situation where, you're dealing with guys that, operate in their own way. You're dealing with guys that, that want to do deals that they want to do.
Yeah.
Yes, I saw that. Blood of DePanta, $2 says Don took the Jazz off his socials. Yes, I saw that. In fact, I have one pulled up for you. Where is it? Right here. This is Donovan Mitchell on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And Donovan Mitchell absolutely took the Jazz off his Twitter and it was off his Instagram last night when I saw it. Listen, I don't think that's any small thing because also, by the way, he had the Jazz on his social media on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you that. I don't know. What do you?
Hey, I mean, maybe it means he's being traded. I don't know. I mean, yeah, obviously, like, let's just say it. When a guy takes the team off his social media, that typically means that something's happening, right? Like, we can agree with that. That said, I just don't think that we can make assumptions. Like, it's all over. Like, we have ESPN on a TV in the background. It's all over ESPN. Like, everyone's talking about it. So it's no secret. Like we said, like, it's still very real that he could get traded. This RJ Barrett thing does not preclude a Donovan Mitchell deal from being done. It just doesn't because Danny Ainge didn't value RJ Barrett. Danny Ainge values a 3-team deal where he gets 4 unprotected picks and players. I'm not sure about that. Bro, Siri's mouthing off over here.
Siri just getting cray-cray. But there's Don's Instagram right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you're 100% right. I mean, it's, I don't know how much do we put into that? Like I didn't bring this up yesterday when I saw it because I just don't know that it's that big of a deal. Like, is it?
And he hasn't scrubbed, like, if you scroll through his Instagram feed, all the Jazz stuff is still on his Instagram feed. I mean, it's not like his entire Instagram feed is without Utah Jazz content, But again, I'm not trying to say anyone's wrong. I'm not trying to say I disagree with it. Hey, he took the Utah Jazz stuff out of his bio. Maybe that means a trade is imminent. I don't know. That's the truth. I don't know, and that's what we do on the show. We tell you the truth. So yeah, we'll see what that means. But what I'm here to tell you is the deal is still very much a possibility. It still very much can happen, and we'll see. I think the deal structure, as you've been saying for probably 2 weeks now, I feel like we've been talking about this 3-team deal with the Lakers. You've got the Lakers, the Knicks, and the Jazz. The Lakers are giving up those 2, first-round picks that they have. They're probably getting a Conley, Bogey-type player, if not both of those guys. Obviously, Danny Ainge, as we've talked about ad nauseum on this show, wants Quentin Grimes. and a package of players with 4 unprotected first-round picks. That's the price for Donovan Mitchell.
And I just keep going back to what's Quentin Grimes' real value here. Are you really not willing to acquire Donovan Mitchell because you don't want to give up Quentin Grimes? Man, I just have a hard time buying that. And I've heard repeatedly that Leon Rose doesn't want to give up. He doesn't want to give up Quentin Grimes. I don't know. What is this social media thing mean?
We tend to obsess. We tend to go too far with, oh, well, he scrubbed his Instagram account. That means that he's being traded. Like, we tend to obsess on that. So part of me, like half of me is like, yeah, well, it's no secret that, hey, he scrubbed his social media, but he didn't really scrub his social media. What did he do? He took that stuff out of his bio.
He took Utah Jazz out of his bio.
But he didn't scrub his Instagram fully. I'm guessing if you go through his Twitter, he's still got Utah Jazz content on his Twitter. Like, I don't know,
But he also took out Adidas athlete. I mean, like, he doesn't really have a bio of any kind. I mean, if you look at his Twitter doesn't say anything.
Yeah. So that's my point. That's my point.
I don't know that it means anything.
It doesn't. It just, there's not, I wouldn't be drawing conclusions based on the guy's social media. It is, I know we're really thirsty for this trade to happen and for something huge to go down so we can all talk about it. And trust me, I have no problem saying it. I would love for something to happen in the NBA, whether it's a Don deal or otherwise. Like, we've been having this conversation for weeks at this point. So, yeah, there is some burnout, but yeah, I just don't think we should make conclusions based on the guy's social media. We shouldn't.
I don't know how much value's in it. I don't know. What do you guys think in the comments? We can get into that a bit before we get to non-sports stories. Diesel D says, I don't think RJ Barrett was in Utah's plans for Mitchell. He wants a million first-round picks to flip into superstars in the future. Just my opinion. Grimes topping quickly is the icing on the cake, Diesel D says.
Agreed. I think that's spot on.
We've heard for over a month that Danny Ainge was not interested in paying RJ Barrett because he's got a better player in Donovan Mitchell. If you're going to pay RJ Barrett, aren't you just going to keep Don?
Yeah.
I mean, that to me is what would make sense. Arel on Ezrael says, so if the deal is still a possibility, then guess what? The Jazz are rebuilding.
They're not.
If they make that
the deal, they're rebuilding.
Like, we got to get off the label thing. Like, everybody gets so fired up. Right here today, you've still got Bogey, Conley, Clarkson, and Mitchell on your roster. That's not rebuilding. If you trade those guys, I think if you trade Donovan Mitchell, you're rebuilding.
Yeah.
That would be the trigger for me that says, hey, you're rebuilding. Trading Rudy Gobert was a retool.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. I don't think that Danny Ainge has an appetite to trade Donovan Mitchell for 10 young guys and 1 first-round pick. Like, there would be no reason to do that.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know.
And by the way, I also want to pose a question. Why are we obsessing on rebuild versus retool versus staying relevant? Like, let's see how it plays out. Like, I just, this to me is one of those situations where, again, we're thirsty. We want to be like, oh, well, they're rebuilding. They tore it down. They burned it down. Like I feel like we love to do that in sports conversations. And I just don't think we need to. Like right now, you're not rebuilding. If you trade Don, you're rebuilding. It's a very simple, black and white, like not hard to understand concept, So let's see if the deal gets done today or this week. It seems like based on the fact that they signed RJ Barrett, like if we're just putting dots together here, hey, you signed RJ Barrett, that kind of takes him out. That kind of clears the waters a bit. Now the deal is very much like cut and dry. Like Leon Rose is either going to include Quentin Grimes in the deal with and the Lakers are going to provide 2 picks along with the Knicks 2 picks, and we're going to get all this done, or we're not. Like, I honestly, God, feel like that's where it's at right now.
I just don't think this social media stuff means anything. Like, flipping around, looking at, like, Rudy Gobert doesn't have the Timberwolves on his thing. He's still got a Jazz jersey picture of him. Like, I just don't see that these guys, their brand is their brand. I don't know. I don't think it means that much. I really don't. I don't know. Riley O'Brien, good morning, friend. Kyler did the same thing with the Cardinals. Time goes by, and he's locked in Arizona long term. It doesn't mean Don is gone. I frankly don't know that it means anything. So TC says your team won't win. Play-in team at best. The Chicago Bulls are a top 5 team in the East. What do you mean they won't win?
With all due respect.
What are you talking about? The Bulls are a top 5 team in the East. TC, what do you you thought I was a Jazz fan. My bad.
What the f*** do you know what goes on in my head?
Yeah, are you serious right now? I'm a Bull. Really?
That's just some guy in a poster here. I mean,
Perry G says, let's go Knicks. Blood of the Panta says that the Nick of Time shows salute. T Money says, maybe so at Scott. What did Scott Howard pop in here? I missed it. I don't know. I'm sorry. Asgil says, NBA fans hate when people say things like the deal is imminent. I don't know. Has the deal ever been imminent? I think the closest the Jazz got to trading Donovan Mitchell to the Knicks was 2 weeks ago now, maybe. That they had, essentially the framework of a deal done, and they agreed they needed to go get a third team.
Yeah.
And I think Leon Rose got frustrated that when they got the Lakers, and the Lakers were like, yeah, we'll give you 2 first-round picks if you take Russell and give us, X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
Leon was like, cool, done, let's go. Hey, Danny, you want to I faxed you over a deal. And Danny's like, nah, bro, I'm going to need Quentin Grimes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where this deal died in its current incarnation. So Leon Rose moved on with his business of getting RJ Barrett's deal done. I don't think that means this deal is dead.
That's what I mean. I feel like the RJ thing, like the initial reaction was, oh, well, it means the trade can't be done. But it's the exact opposite. I think it just clears the waters and gets us out of this like muddy situation of RJ or Quentin or Obi Toppin or Evan Fournier, or like it just removes RJ from the situation, so it's nice and easy.
I just don't think, and I know we have Knicks fans listening to the show today, so I want to be careful.
Yeah, careful.
And if you're driving listening to the show, please put your hands at 10 and 2.
Donnie, please.
I just don't think Obi Toppin has that much value. I don't think he's a difference maker for a franchise trying to win a championship. I think Obi Toppin is that guy who's on your team, and he contributes, and he's good, but he's certainly not great.
No.
Like everybody's like, oh, Obi Toppin, he's really tall. Well, okay, that's cool, and everybody can dunk in the NBA. But is Obi Toppin a guy that you're like, damn, dude, if we only had Obi Toppin?
Man.
No, he's not.
I want it.
Right? Like, that's why I don't. The Obi Toppin thing is so played.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Let's see. Martin Cicero, Illinois.
Yeah.
RJ Barrett's 22. Utah still has a minimum salary requirement. Getting him at this age, why they rebuild makes total sense. It doesn't, though.
No.
Because this goes back to the RJ debate. Is RJ Barrett better than Donovan Mitchell? No, he's not.
No.
Is his upside potential, is his ceiling higher than Donovan Mitchell?
Well, and I think the question you can ask that kind of, runs parallel.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. Yeah, the answer is no, it's not. That's correct. But I think the other question we could ask that kind of runs parallel to that is really not just is RJ better than Don, which he's not, but is the package that you're getting that would have included RJ before the extension got done, is that package allowing you to turn, Don into something better? That, I think, is what you have to ask. Like, if I'm Danny Ainge, I'm looking at this saying, okay, I've got Donovan Mitchell, a 3-time All-Star in his first, I think, 5 seasons. Guy's an absolute stud. If I trade this guy and I get RJ Barrett back and a package of players and some picks, what can I then take those assets and turn that into? Like,
yes.
Do those assets turn into, Jason Tatum, let's say, or Jaylen Brown, or like some player that is of equal value, or frankly, probably has to be better than Donovan Mitchell is right now?
I don't think that RJ Barrett's top side is near Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
I think Donovan Mitchell, honest to goodness, I think he can be a top 5 player in this league. I mean, you're seeing the end of an era with the LeBron James player.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're seeing an end of that era. I think Steph is probably the preeminent talent in the NBA right now, coming off of a championship. I think Kevin Durant's got a lot of proving to do. He's got to reestablish himself. That next generation, though, Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell. Devin Booker, Jason Tatum. That next generation is Gian, like where do you rank Giannis? Like that generation of player.
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell can be the best player in that generation. He can be. He's got to prove that he is. He's got to prove that he can be that guy. He's got to prove that he can defend. RJ Barrett's a better defender than Donovan Mitchell, not even close.
Right.
But when you talk about total players, savages, killers, that's Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell is a savage, dude.
That's right, T.
He's a killer. He wants it.
Yes.
Which is why it pisses you off that Bojan Bogdanovic got that last shot in Dallas.
And airballed it. Why Mike Conley got it in the bubble and missed.
Donovan Mitchell's got to have a mid-range and he's got to defend. He can.
Yeah.
Mari Moore says DM can play defense in his own time. I think if you ask him, I think you should. He will. New York isn't making the jump without Don. Totally agree.
Agreed.
Yaga. Yaygah. Yaga Bob.
Yaga.
Who the fuck are you?
That's like a Boston thing. Anyway, Grimes is stopping the Donovan trade. LMAO, Knicks are stupid. I think Quentin Grimes and Emmanuel Quickly. Just gloss over it. Gloss over
sentiment. LMAO, the Knicks are stupid.
WTF. T. Martin says, Mara, your comment sucks. Okay. Martin Cicero says, Nick fan and agree 100% on Obi Toppin. Mads Knutson. Hey, it's Mads Knutson.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is that guy?
She's Betty and Frank Knutson's third child on their mother's side, Franny Knutson.
I'm on your side on this.
You remember Franny? She used to make those muffins that everybody hated, but everybody eat them. Because that's just, you got to make Franny Knutson feel good.
Yeah.
It's a Knutson's kid.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mads Knutson. See, Mads, why do you have to have the last name Knutson and stuff? The why do Danny Ainge want Obi? Okay, well, you should go. See, Fran Knutson, I love her, but don't get into a text conversation. She got those sausage fingers. Can never figure out what old Franny's trying to say.
He allegedly said what he said.
Come on. And her sister Connie Knutson's not much better on the text machine either. Okay. Mari Moore says, Team Money, please. Your team still sucks. Okay, here we go.
Why don't you illuminate me?
Here we go. Your team still sucks. Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
J Deals Direct. If Donovan is not the guy to build a franchise around, why would Ainge keep him? He is the guy. He's absolutely the guy. Dylan Lott, doesn't the rookie extension rule apply to Barrett so that we couldn't trade Don to the Knicks without then moving Barrett? That's incorrect. Incorrect. You can have two of those deals on your team. Let's see. Big Chino.
Yeah.
Monty, you didn't get it. We not overrating Obi. Moving Obi means a commitment to Randall, which us Knicks fans are terrified of.
Oh, dude, you're not wrong, bro.
Chino!
Dude,
you're not wrong.
You are not wrong.
You are not wrong.
I would be scared of that as well.
I think Leon trades. I think he'd like to trade Julius. That's not going to be to the Jazz. The Jazz have zero.
Yes.
The Jazz have zero interest in Julius Randle. But I think there's homes for Julius out there. I do. I think. We'll see. I think there's a home for Julius out there. Samwan Lot says, question, are Obi Toppin and John Collins comparable players? I think they're different kinds of players.
Yeah.
I think Obi Toppin needs guys around him. I think John Collins can be a guy. But that's opinion. Smooth B says, bugging out if you think the Bulls are top 5. They're top 3. Tell me I'm wrong. Bulls are a top 3 team. Go. No, I'm kidding. I'd love them to be a top 5 team in the East. I think they will. Casual. Andre Drummond, I don't know how much he's got left in the tank, but if he can rebound and block shots, they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
They're going to be fine. Diesel D, I like Utah's roster right now. I'm a Laker fan, but I got Utah as my second favorite team. To me, Utah's a trade away from being a contender. Keep Spida and go get Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown's interesting you bring that up. because, it's interesting. I was talking to an NBA guy I know last night, and he was saying that there's real question around the league of why are you going to trade Jaylen Brown? Well, because both he and Jason Tatum are going to be Supermax eligible.
Right.
That's interesting. Jaylen Brown's shown you maybe that he's the better player than Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
In the moment, I think I would have taken Jaylen Brown in the finals. JT didn't really show up.
Yeah.
Especially against the Warriors in those big games on the road.
Yeah, you would have liked to have seen more from him. No doubt.
But you said the same thing about Booker, and now Book's making $50 million a year.
Yeah. And I think the problem is, and this is kind of how it works with quarterbacks in the NFL, you either have a guy or you don't. Like, you either have that bona fide stud on your team or you don't. And the Knicks don't, and the Jazz do right now. The problem is that the Jazz do not have the resources that they need to progress through the playoffs. And funny enough, neither did the Knicks, and that's why this trade conversation has been a thing.
I would agree. Let's see. J Deals Direct. Lakers and Knicks are giving up 2 unprotected picks each.
Yeah.
That was yesterday.
In the 3-team scenario, yeah.
We'll see. Yeah. What is your appetite to pay off Westbrook?
I mean, if you're trading Donovan Mitchell and you're going down that path, I guess it's fine. I guess it's fine because you're not really
$47 million.
Like, you're not really expecting to win anything. Like, you can do that. But I just locally in Salt Lake, and I know this probably doesn't matter to Knicks fans, but the way the jersey release happened, the way that things are going on with the ownership group here and Ryan Smith, I think it's really interesting to think about, hey, how would a rebuild be taken by the fan base? Like, you're talking about trading away your best players, new ownership. Like, it doesn't exactly send the message that you're trying to win a championship, which was the stated goal of Ryan Smith when he bought this team. So I don't know.
But that's why you knew, though, that they got to have 2 All-Stars in that game.
That was a gimmick.
That was never a thing. That was never a thing. So I just wouldn't worry that much about it. I just think that, yeah, but this is an interesting story now. ESPN just put out a story about these gang robberies that are going on with professional athletes. Have you heard about the Calvin Ridley apparently is the latest target of these robbery crews?
Mm-hmm.
And I just am like, this is crazy.
Bro, okay, not to cut in on you.
Yeah.
So we do this casuals getting cut thing, right?
Yes.
We just got a message in the casuals getting cut thing that another one of our listeners won a Traeger smoker. That's 2 listeners now who've won a Traeger at Barbecue Pit Stop. I'm not even kidding. Dwayne Boone.
Dwayne Boone!
His sister, he puts in this chat, my sister won a Traeger smoker from Barbecue Pit Stop.
That's crazy.
Are you for? That's 2 now.
Yeah, Lauren, and now Dwayne Boone.
Dwayne Boone.
That's
incredible.
great.
Truly incredible.
That's crazy, dude.
Incredible, bro.
I'm telling you, we try to hook you up. If you go to Barbecue Pit Stop.
We're doing the giveaway. Go to Barbecue Pit Stop. Do it, man.
Any of their 5 locations, and no matter where you are, check them out online, bbqpitstop.com. bbqpitstop.com. They're the best for barbecue smokers, pellets, tools, spices, rubs. All of their spices and rubs are flipping amazing. We're going to be at the Barbecue Pit Stop in Murray today, in fact.
Today?
Because we need to get their Italian blend, the Kinder Italian seasoning.
So good. It's called Italian Chop House.
Man, it's good.
So good.
Where is the Italian?
Another one of our listeners won a Traeger.
That's 2 Traegers in the last 6 weeks at Barbecue Pit Stop.
Steve and the guys at Barbecue Pit Stop hooking
Doing
up
it right,
Monty
bro.
Show listeners, man.
Doing it right.
If you're a listener to Monty in the morning, make sure you get to Barbecue Pit Stop, Layton, Lehigh, Logan, Salt Lake City, and St. George. Shop online at barbecuepitstop.com. And you know the cool thing about Barbecue Pit Stop, if you have never been there or if you don't know those guys, one, you can chat with them online. Go to their website right now, bbqpitstop.com. Chat with them. Ask them any questions you want. Hey, just go in there and say, hey, Monty said I can win a Traeger smoker. Do it. But if you go into their stores or if you call them and you say, hey, you know what, man? I heard about you on the Monty Show and I'm making a brisket on the Traeger or on the Big Green Egg or on the Yoder this weekend. How do I do that? Hey, what seasoning? How long do I have to let it rest? Like, should I wrap my brisket in a cooler? Like, they talk to you about barbecue, smoking, like all that stuff. They're super easy guys. Hey, what Kinder seasoning's best for wings? for brisket, for steaks, that's what they're just guys.
Italian Chop House.
Yeah. They're just guys. That's what I love about all the guys at Barbecue Pit Stop. No matter where you are, hook it up, bbqpitstop.com. Layton, Lehigh, Logan, Salt Lake City, and St. George. Tell them you heard about it on the Monty Show. All right, 8:45 Mountain Time, 10:45 in the
What a
East.
show, first of all. First of all, what a show.
Yeah. If you're here right now, please give us a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. But you know what? This is one of the things we talk about. You guys are probably amazing. Just the way you take care, not probably, you guys are amazing. The way you take care of us with our sponsors. We have a big sponsor edition coming on the show, several for September. Thursday morning, we're announcing a huge sponsor addition to the show. We have 2-3 guys coming online to support the show. Like, we really need you guys to call Devery Davis at Academy Mortgage, to support the show. Hey, I heard about you on the Monty Show. Ask them about down payment assistance. Barbecue Pit Stop. Hey, how do I win a Traeger? How do I enter the, BYU Notre Dame, Shamrock Series drive away? Like all of those guys that we talk about, Wayman Brothers Construction, certainly. We need you to support those sponsors so they support the show. That's how it works. So we appreciate you doing that. All right, couple more, then we got to get to the non-sports stories of the day. Caleb Harrison says JB would work better with the team because of his defense. I don't disagree with that. RJ Barrett is not a guy it's not like he's not good.
Mm-hmm.
He's just not as good as Donovan Mitchell. You know what I mean? Like he's just not as good.
Yeah.
Mari, what did you do? Why are you asking people not to be mad at you? Psych Vele says Dud's blood type is barbecue. Dude's blood type is barbecue. Okay. Zach Hatch says, love Traeger, love my Timberline 855. I want the Timberline.
The Timberline is so good, dude.
Oh, I love the Timberline.
Is freaking amazing.
Yeah, the Traeger Timberline series is amazing. Mari Moore says, I love you guys, and I agree with Spida. He will probably stay.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Team Money, Asgill says, too bad. We ain't going nowhere. Suck it up. Okay. Because Asgill says, we'll be so happy after the Knicks fans leave and stop spamming the chat with Leon Masterclass. No one wants to play in Utah.
No.
Jazz are going to be trash. Like, just worry about yourselves, fam. Jazz are not going to be trash. They're not. They just aren't. Arlington Bears says winning a smoker is easy. Arlington Bears
won a smoker on our show.
From Barbecue Pit Stop.
Yep.
David Golob says Danny wants to tank. Not happening with DM. I don't know if Danny wants to tank or not. TC says, I will call because your show is a real deal. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Majesty Williams. RJ is 22. Correct, he is.
Yep. Young
Correct. Guy. Gabe Ledley says Bears about as easy as a PS5 because Gabe Ledley
won a PS5.
See,
I'm telling you, this show, again, I'm not trying to be arrogant. We give a lot of stuff away on this show. That trip we're giving away is going to be absolute magic, bro. Football game, Vegas, it's going to be awesome.
Teddy Wayman says, went to the Lehigh store and got steak seasoning. It's amazing. Teddy, appreciate the $5 tip as well. Now all the Knicks fans, Team Money just put Leon Masterclass. Juju92 just put Leon Masterclass.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
My guy, Scanduro. Where have you been, Lion King? He puts Leon Masterclass. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. Non-sports stories of the day.
Yes.
Is junk food causing you to call in sick? So there's been this study from the boys down there in Texas at Texas Tech in Lubbock, Texas. Got some manure on my boats.
Good old Cliff Kingsbury land.
Texas Tech put out a study that says junk food is killing you, that eating a hot dog at Costco takes 35 seconds off your life.
Mm-hmm.
And just all this stuff.
Right.
And so now there's another study that accompanied this one.
Mm-hmm.
That says that people who eat junk food on a regular basis, highly processed foods.
Yes, that's the terminology.
Potato chips, for instance.
Junk food, yeah.
Call in sick to work more than those who do not.
Fat.
And I believe the correct terminology is more than those who avoid highly processed foods.
Right.
So flipping vegans and vegetarians.
Yeah.
Idiots.
Yeah.
So the question is, Jake.
Yeah.
Do you believe that junk food is making you call in sick to work more?
Yeah, I've been immunized.
That's going to be my answer. I've been immunized.
You've been immunized.
Yeah, I've been immunized.
No, all jokes aside, I think that what you put in your body absolutely matters. I mean, I feel like that's a very, obvious thing. The terminology they used in the study was people who are eating more ultra processed foods have more unhealthy days. Now, some of those unhealthy days are just kind of mental, where you've got like the mental fog and you're just not operating at full capacity. We all know what that feels like. I think most of us have had, days like that in our life. And then you have this calling in sick thing where you just physically don't feel well and you call into sick more often than someone who eats, higher quality foods. And I think it makes absolute sense. If you think about it, the stuff you put in your body it absolutely matters. And I think when you combine that with the fact that, we just had this period of time where most people weren't working out and just sitting on the couch, that probably isn't helping your cause. So I absolutely agree with what's going on here.
All right. Let's welcome Mrs. Monty to the show. Good morning, Mrs. Monty.
Well, hey there.
All the Knicks fans, this is Mrs. Monty.
Nice to meet you, Mrs. Monty. You can follow Mrs. Monty on Twitter at Mrs. Monty Show. She's a vegan. Just ask her. She'll tell you.
Right.
I'm a vegetarian, really.
Which pretty much makes you a vegetarian.
Well, see, my wife's a vegetarian, because, so pretty much I'm a vegetarian too.
These two fucks,
wow,
often tempt me into other things.
Holy cow!
Sorry.
Okay, I'd like to.
Yeah, what's your language?
We're looking for another non-sports story host who doesn't curse like a sailor. If you wouldn't mind submitting your applications at I'mAvegan2.com.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'mAvegan2.com.
You know what I would say? Is I completely agree that highly processed foods, junk foods, definitely affect your health. And you know what's cool? One of the casuals getting cut gave up Mountain Dew. Hasn't drank Mountain Dew since we started this group. And is down 14 pounds, I want to say.
Yeah.
Also not eating very much red meat.
Mm-hmm.
Is on their feet a lot every day, but still, like, not having to do extreme workouts, but cut out those things and seeing an instant, seeing a very quick improvement in health. So I totally believe that they do. I think that all the processed foods, sweeteners, preservatives, we need to try and avoid them as much as possible. Our bodies just can't handle the chemicals. So,
okay, I'm like trying to take a picture of you to put on Instagram to promote the show. Do you know how hard it is to get a picture of you with your eyes open?
What? I'm just gonna sit here with my eyes closed the whole time.
What? It is. I've taken like 10 pictures.
Bro,
let me see if I can get this picture uploaded. It is. I'm 0 for 10. Like, I'm sitting here with my iPhone, like trying to take a picture of Mrs. Monty, and I cannot get her photographed with her freaking eyes open.
You're casual.
Bro, you have an iPhone 13 Pro Max.
Pro Max.
Like, you should be a professional at this. Why
you can take a live photo and then select which frame
and
that has
screenshot.
my eyes open.
Oh, is that true?
Okay, hi.
I didn't know that. Is that true?
Is this real life?
What the?
Yeah, it will not let me. Okay.
Man, okay. Anyway,
because it's a live
let's
photo.
Just keep. Let's.
Let's continue down the death path of unhealthy food.
Unhealthy food, man.
Yeah, I am a big junk food fan, or was. Admittedly, over the last year, one of the things I've really tried to cut out is like potato chips.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think I've probably, like, I used to love like Doritos. Let's talk about Doritos. About 5 years ago in Phoenix, Mrs. Monty took me to see this, and how do I say this? Small person.
It's not that small.
Oh no, he was better. Anyway, the point is,
are you distracted? Are you telling a story or what?
Yeah. So I went to this doctor because in our health insurance you get this really invasive physical.
Yeah, I know what time it is.
Nah, not even thumb in the butt, but like they check your blood flow to your legs and your lower extremities, and like this really invasive physical. And so the guy we were talking about like what I was eating and whatnot. And he's like, well, just know every time you eat a Dorito, you're saying that it's okay, that you're fine living a shorter life. And every time you eat, this guy was a gangster.
What?
And this dude, I mean, he's like 5'7". And he's like in tremendous shape. He's an older guy.
He's like 5'7". He's like 3'10".
Yeah.
And
he's walking around with like a poker. Anyway, the point is, but this dude's in amazing shape, and he's like, yeah, every time you eat French fries, just know you're killing yourself.
Donnie, please.
He's like, don't ever eat another Dorito because it's terrible for you. And he just like ruined it for me.
Okay.
I have not had Doritos since then. I may have had 5 total Dorito chips.
Right.
Because the dude's like, every time you eat Doritos, you're killing yourself. Just know that.
With all due respect.
And he's like, well, what foods do you like? I'm like, well, I actually like pretzels. These little pretzel sticks. And he said, yeah, every time you eat a pretzel, it dumps insulin into your stomach. Do you want to be diabetic?
Donnie,
I'm like, Jesus,
please.
guy.
Bro.
Like, can I just be fat and
Dude.
happy?
no.
Right? Like, and
no.
And I'm like, man, come on. And he's like, well, you either want to live a long, happy, because I told him I want to live forever. I never want to die. I'm the guy that wants to live to be like 2 million years old.
Right, yeah. Well, I mean, obviously. The show needs to go on.
Yeah, I want people to find my poop fossilized while I'm still alive.
Your poop fossilized.
While you're still alive.
While I'm still alive.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay, wow. No, it's not okay to play that.
Well,
Not
it is,
okay.
actually. But it's fine.
All
Anyway, my point is, but this doctor ruined food for me.
right.
And so, like French fries and hot dogs, like this study, I actually think it said every time you eat a hot dog, it takes 32 minutes off your life.
It's really despicable.
And it's like, damn. And
Bro,
then we're
it's
going
a baseball game and a hot dog. It's American heritage.
Yeah, suck it. Anyway, the point is, I don't understand. Like, I have such a dysfunctional relationship with food. Like,
Yeah.
It's absolutely the truth. Yesterday for lunch, I'm like, okay, well, we had turkey meat. I wasn't hungry. I had to like force myself to eat ground turkey yesterday at lunch, and I just wasn't hungry. We go to Burger King because, jerk off over here is like, oh, I could feel it setting in. I'm crabby.
Yeah,
I
was in a crap mood. We were going by an advertiser's place, and I didn't want to be in a crap mood.
So,
and I didn't want candy, and I didn't really have another alternative.
We go to Burger King. What did you get?
I got a burger.
No, what did you get? You got a Whopper. What did I get?
Yeah, an Impossible Burger.
I got an Impossible Whopper.
Does that make you feel better?
Yes. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, well, if I eat this red meat, I'm probably going to have another colonoscopy. And, like, I just don't, roto-rooter and stuff. Anyway, my point is, it's in my head now.
Yeah.
And so I see this study about how, food is killing you. And it's like,
what you're not
think
saying
that's true.
is what you're not saying is you work out 7 days a week. Like
I do.
You're obsessive about it.
I do, and I take
which
a bunch
I think most people don't do.
I take a bunch of precautions. I've taken a vitamin regimen for 10 years. Like I'm in perfect health, knock on wood. Like I don't have back issues, even though I pulled this muscle in my back. That's just killing me today. But my wife, so yesterday, like we worked way too late yesterday. We wound up at the gym, and this is another topic we need to talk about.
Dude, this pissed me off yesterday.
Gym douche yesterday.
This pissed me off.
So we need to be at the gym at 2:30, 3 o'clock every day, or it's just a disaster. So we wind up at the gym at 6:30 last night. And that means that, hey, Jimmy and Frank, and here's my friend Chuck and Breland.
You got to fuck one, marry one, kill one.
Here's Dallin and Breland working out. And like the gym is packed with like 16-year-old kids who just walk around staring at 30-year-old women in spandex.
Wearing pajama pants.
Yeah, this one group of kids are all in there in pajama pants and house slippers. And the one kid is doing cable curls in bare feet and flannel pants.
Like, what are you doing, bro? What are you doing?
I'm like, who hurt you, sir? Anyway, the point is, so we're warming up. And yesterday was like leg day, functional leg day. And so we're throwing this ball back and forth to warm up. And Jake there's a punching bag there that nobody ever uses, a heavy bag.
On like a turf area at a Vaza Fitness.
So he's standing next to the turf bag, right? And we're throwing this ball back and forth. And this douche kid, 17 years old, he's a kid in the group that's like, I'm a stud, I lift, I'm fucking you up. Like, he's that kid, right?
Right.
So that was probably, you know what I mean.
Do you even lift?
Excuse my Farsi language.
Obviously
anyway,
not.
the point is, this kid walks up to the heavy bag and just starts wailing away on the heavy bag, and it's slamming into Jake. And so finally I said, hey, man, you could ask him to move. You could say, hey, excuse me. Is that where it ended?
No.
No. Because then Captain America, who was like 10 feet to the right, is like, hey, you could just move. You know they want to use the bag.
Let's consult the douche meter.
You could just move. And so I said to the guy, well, hey, he could ask to move. It's called communication. And Captain America's like, you're absolutely right. Ask him to move. And it's like, dude, go in the back and inject your ass with steroids. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me. He was like, you could just
dude, he was a complete meathead. There's no doubt about it.
And he's got on like this really tight spandex shirt.
Yeah.
And he's like, shut up. And like I actually barked back at the guy. And I'm like, well, they could ask him to move. It's called communication. And then the kid's like, and the kid who was all like a badass in his group is like, oh, I'm sorry, bro. Yeah. I'm sorry, dude.
Yeah.
And so then we like moved away and they used the bag for like 30 seconds.
And then they all left. That was the best part. They all just leave.
Pricks. Anyway.
Then, garage douche.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I don't know how we got to this from junk food killing us. So I haven't driven my Jeep. We built a Jeep Rubicon. But we've had a traction bar issue. And one of the American Rock Slide is hanging down. It's broke, like it's a retractable step, but the step won't retract. So we haven't been driving the Jeep.
Right.
And so it's been sitting in the garage for 4 months. What is it?
No.
4 months.
Like 2.
No, since when did we go to the Tetons? April.
In June.
Oh, was that June?
Yeah.
Well, it's August now, so. Okay.
I thought that was April we went to the
2
Tetons.
months. Whatever. A couple of months.
Okay. It's been there for months. That was really June we went to
like
the Tetons.
an entire year. And the whole time we walked uphill both ways.
No.
In the snow.
That's only when we go hiking. You know, because nobody likes
2
hiking.
months.
Nobody likes
because
hiking.
they don't want me to drive my Jeep.
It's not your
That's not
Jeep,
true.
first of all. It's our Jeep.
Anyway.
And that's not true.
Okay.
The point is, it's an investment piece for us. It's not a daily driver. Anyways, it's been sitting in the garage. The battery's dead.
Right.
So we go to get in it on Saturday. We were going to take it up to Park City and do Guardsman's Pass.
And
all
you
that.
were intentional. You were like, hey, we do need to drive it, so
Yeah,
let's
so
take
let's
it up
go.
there. Yeah.
We hop in. It's dead.
Bet you weren't expecting this one.
So Sunday, Mrs. Monty is getting the choach waxed for Hawaii, right?
Wow.
How you just casually roll out the word choach?
What do you mean?
It was also the armpits.
Bro.
And, you know.
Anyway.
Damn.
So Mrs.
Yeah.
Monty had a personal grooming day on
It was
Sunday.
a beautification day. I also
And-
got a pedicure.
Wow, you should get
Another douche moment.
Oh my
the
gosh.
pedicure place.
Oh.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
wait.
continue about the
Anyway.
Jeep. Go with the Jeep.
Okay.
Focus.
Yeah,
Okay,
focus.
Ken.
Focus.
Damn, she called you Ken.
Anyway, so while she's off getting the kitty waxed, my job was to get the battery jumped.
That's it, Skippy.
So I use American Family Insurance.
Right.
I go through the Roadside program.
Right.
Usually nails.
Right.
Homie shows up. And actually, first, my phone rings like 2 hours after I order the roadside assistance.
Out of the blue. They don't tell you anyone's coming.
Nobody's coming, nothing. All of a sudden, my phone rings. I'm like, hello. And he's like, hey, roadside assistant. Like he sounds like, and that's how he kind of sounded.
Oh
So-
my God, dude.
And I think
very Chris Farley down by the river.
yeah,
Dude, bro.
And I'm guessing,
Man down by the
yeah,
river.
and I'm guessing, roadside assistance bro has probably had some skull fractures in his life. I'm just guessing.
That's pretty much self-explanatory.
And he's like, hey, roadside assistance, I'm out by your garage.
And we're like, okay, great.
And I said, okay, cool, I'll be right out. Walk out to the garage, there's nobody there.
Obviously not.
I call him back, he's like, hello. I'm like, hey man, I'm out by my garage, I don't see you here. And this dude drops a see you next Tuesday on me.
Now, was he called you that, or what was the...
No, he called this.
He said these C's constantly give me the wrong address.
Dude!
MF this. MF that. GD this.
Just because it's Sunday, bro, and we're not at church doesn't mean we want to hear your stuff.
And he's like, what's your address? And I'm like, okay, here's my address. He puts it in his phone. Okay. I'm like, well, what street are you on? And he tells me the street that's like 2 blocks away.
Right. Yeah. So he was close, just not
2 blocks away.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, I'll be right there. I'm like, okay. And so he drives up and he's like, can you believe this? Give me the wrong address. It's just going to be that day. I'm like, okay, well, I literally said, okay, well, I need to get the battery jumped. And so he opens the hood and now he turns into like Mikey the mechanic. Well, I have a Ford Ranger and, this old bag that I bought it from.
Don't you know who I am?
This is going on. And I'm like, yeah, dude, that's cool. I need to get this jumped.
Can you just jump the battery or what are we doing?
Let's make it happen.
So then he does the whole thing where he reaches into his back pocket, pulls out his phone, and he's like, is this a Rubicon Jeep? I'm like,
no, it's a Rubicon Kia.
And he's standing there looking at the word Rubicon.
Idiot.
I'm like, yeah, this is it. And he goes, there's no plate on it.
Even though the plate's like right there on the back of the car.
I'm like, it's on the back. He goes, oh, well, look at that. And then he goes through the whole drama of just putting his phone in his side pocket because, of course, he has on cargo pants. And then it's like a big project for this dude. And he's like, I'm a big guy. I understand. Look, I'm portly. I weigh about 5 extra pounds, a little bit of fat I could lose.
Right. Yeah, just a little bit.
Nothing major.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This bro is big, dude. Okay, have another keg.
And he rolled up in this minivan that's just trashed. Like it's the front bumper is like taped.
It's
and like,
duct taped. The front bumper.
It's
roadside assistance with my duct tape bumper.
Like, dude,
what are you doing?
Like, why are we third partying roadside assistance? Why? Like,
so anyway, we go through this thing, and he goes to his van. And he carries out a battery charger like it's the end of the world. Like,
right.
Oh my God, this thing's 1,000 pounds.
Right.
And he's like, hold this. I'm like, okay. And so I'm standing there holding the battery charger while he's trying to connect it, and he can't connect. And he says to Jake, get in. Okay. I'm like, hey, why don't you hop in there? And so he's trying to connect the prong,
the jumpers,
crabby thing.
Yeah,
you
the
stick them on the post
to the metal portion on the battery.
Can't figure it out, and he's got Coke bottle glasses on. And I said to him, "You want some help with that?" No, I got it. 13 years of experience, highly educated. I can handle it.
You guys are idiots.
Just like that. I'm like, okay. So he figures that out. He's like, "Give it a shot." And so then, like, Jake hits the button and nothing happens. Well, I've never seen this before. And so then he moves the things around, and it turns out that he had connected the red jumper cable thing, clamp claw thing, to the frame instead of to the battery.
Bro, what?
So
what?
He takes it off the little frame thing, puts it on the battery, and he's like, "Give it a shot." And it starts, and he disconnects it. The car turns off. Whoa. Never seen this before. Must be the alternator.
What?
I'm like, no, man, it's the battery's dead. It's been sitting here. I thought it was 4 months. I said it's been sitting here for 4 months. Like, the battery's dead. No, I don't think so. Let me get the bigger box.
That's right, T.
Just like this. Let me get the bigger box.
The bigger box.
I'm like, all right, he's calling his wife. And no.
Okay, that was cold-blooded. That was not
Anyway,
nice.
The point is, so he goes back and he gets a bigger battery charger.
What the fuck are you, Ranger Rick?
Won't start the car. So he's like, well, why don't we try them both? And he connects them both. The car starts. And he's like, hey, rev it up to 2,000 and leave it there.
For at least a minute.
And so we do that. And then he disconnects it. And what do you think happens?
Well. Who the hell knew?
The car died
This
again.
place is empty.
Battery's dead.
Empty. The opposite of full.
He's like, do you do your own work? Do you know how to replace an alternator?
No.
I'm like, dude, it's not the alternator, man. Well, it should have been charging the battery while you were driving it. I'm like, dude, that's where it ended right there for me. I was like, it's been sitting here for 4 months. We haven't been driving it. The battery's dead. He's like, well, okay. Let me call these people and see if I'm allowed to replace your battery for you.
Suckmyass.com.
So does he go sit in his van and call the people? Does he go around the corner and call the people? No. Picks up the phone, and he's literally this guy. Like he's pounding on his phone screen. And he gets the lady on the phone. And he's this guy too. He's on speakerphone. I'm sitting here holding a battery charger. And he's leaning on my bumper. And the lady answers the phone. Hey, it's Jimmy Dickhead with Roadside Assistance. And he says, this guy doesn't know how to replace his battery. I need to know what a 48 volt for a 2020 Jeep Wrangler. I'm like, hey, it's a 2018. Well, I think it's a 2019 Jeep Wrangler.
Are you out of your goddamn mind?
And he's like, what year is it?
2019.
No, it's a 2018, actually. So I look at the insurance card, and it's a 2018. Whatever it is. And he's like, yeah, it's a 2020 Jeep Rubicon. I'm like, it's not. It's not. And he's like, yeah, it's a 20. And then he just keeps changing the year.
Right.
It's a 2016 Rubicon JR. I'm like, no, man.
It's not hard.
And so the lady's like, okay, so I don't know what 48 means, but the right size battery for that vehicle, and he's talking to a lady on the phone somewhere, is a 26 by 9 47 9 64287.
I really don't care if you think it's
out a
sus.
code. Well, yeah, that's a 48, he says to her. And she's like, well, okay. Well, from what it says on my computer screen, it's $200. She tells him it's $200. And she's like, do you want me to send an invoice for you to pay? And he's like, well, no, I have a battery already, and I just want to know what's the labor rate on that. And she's like, well, I have to talk to Jose. He'll call you back. And he hangs up on her. And he calls her, this broad, she's always a problem when I call here. And I said, okay, man, well, you know what? It's cool. I appreciate you coming out. I'm in full get the hell out of my garage.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm like, okay, hey, thanks for coming out. It's all good. The phone rings. And it's this broad. And he answers it, Roadside.
What's up, motherfuckers?
Roadside. And so she's like, hey, Jose said total out the door. There's a special on the battery, $197. Do you want me to call the customer and get payment over the phone? And he's like, look, I told you, I'll do it myself.
And then he's like, no, the customer's standing right here and can hear everything you're saying.
Well, and then she says, well, okay, can you inform the customer that there's a warranty that goes with this and that I'll email them the warranty information so if the battery ever goes dead, it's a lifetime. And he's like, yeah, they're standing right here. I'm on speakerphone. They're listening. And she's like, okay, great. Is there anything else you need? No. Click. And he hangs up on her.
It's just a douche.
And he's like, well, hey, I happen to have this battery in the back of my car. $276. It's in. I'm like, no, dude, I'm good. I got a guy. We'll
like 10 minutes ago, you already knew that you were never going to pay for this.
And then I'm like, okay, well, it's good. And I said to him, well, hey, let's get this all taken out.
You're like taking it off the battery.
I'm holding the battery charger.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to, he's going, well, let's try one more thing. And he's like, are you okay if we try one more thing? And I'm like, okay, well, what are we going to do? He's like, well, let me use my car to. So he connects the car. It doesn't start. Again, he had connected all the red stuff to this rail in there. And he's like, oh, I should put. Car starts, disconnects everything, it dies. And I'm like, okay, yeah, we'll take care of it. He goes, $250. I can do it for you right now.
Pack your shit. Let's go.
So we've gone from 190 whatever, from 200 to 197 lifetime warranty to 270 to 250. And I'm like, nah, I'm good, man. And he's like, all right. I'm like, is there any paperwork we need? Do you need me to sign anything? And he's like, well, yeah, it's like 3 hours of paperwork. And he laughed. He was joking. Took out his phone and like he's taking pictures. And I'm like, all right, man, got to go. And he goes, well, I just have to ask. How'd you break the rock slide? And I'm like, oh, just a nut came out. I'm like, okay, thanks. And the guy won't leave the garage. And he's like, and then at one point he's like sitting there rubbing the Rubicon sticker that's on the hood of the Jeep. And so finally I'm just standing there and I'm like ready to hit the garage door button. And I'm like, all right, thanks, Chief. Like, we'll see you later. Thanks.
Chief.
And he's like, well, I just hate to leave any of my customers stranded. That's not the level of service I provide. I'm like, I'm not stranded, man. Like, I have another car.
And we're at our house.
He's like, okay, all right, thanks. It's the worst experience I've ever had. I'll never do it again.
It's incredible.
I'll never do it again.
It's truly incredible.
It will never happen again. I will go to the frickin' store and I will get it done on my own. That's just the way,
Yeah.
Giggity says this sounds like an SNL skit. It's not that far. It is what it is. And then you went and tried to get your nails done.
I did.
And you had an awful experience getting your nails done.
It was.
How much is a pedicure these days?
You can get them as low as I think 30 and as high as
But like
80.
a good one.
But do you want to pay $30 for a pedicure?
No, that's a very basic pedicure. That's just, wash the feet and paint the toenails. But I went for there was one that was $55 and you get the scrub and they paint your toes, and I knew I was going to pay a little bit more because I wanted flowers on the toes. But I went to the brand new place that's over in Mountain View Village, this brand new shopping center.
Oh, yeah.
Because I thought, hey, it's brand new. I'll get to enjoy some brand new chairs with the massage thing.
They're going to be really good because they're new.
Right. No.
Giggity wants to know how much the pedicure is when they have to bring out the grinder.
Giggity?
Yes.
Because your feet need a little extra care.
Ooh.
It's not that bad. And usually for callus removal, it's $5 extra.
Hey, look here, man.
Yeah. But the point is, this is not something you want to discount on, is it?
No.
You don't want to pay less.
You want them to take their time and do a good job.
I'm going on vacation. I said to her, I'm going on vacation, so I want a nice pedicure. I want a design on my toes. I would like flowers or palm tree or whatever.
Right.
And so at this place, they bring you all these little samples. They're little rows of plastic nails with colors on them, right? So you can pick the color you want. I looked at one and I was like, hey, I like this. Will it actually look like this on my toe?
Oh, Lord.
Oh, boy.
Because it was you could tell you'd have to put a layer of white underneath it because it was a blue and white kind of sparkly. And I was like, that would be really cute.
As you can see, there's not much hope for you left.
Ask her.
This is going to go horribly wrong.
Will it look like that? Yes, we put white underneath it. Okay, cool.
Don't lie to me.
So she does the whole, trimming and polishing of the feet.
But did you get the paraffin?
Stuff.
Did you get the paraffin wax bag around your foot?
Yeah, I did.
You did.
I
Nice.
did.
Nice.
I wanted extra soft feet. And then she goes to paint it, and she's globbing on the white. And I know, guys, you're probably not super into what happens with paint polish for your toenails or fingers. But if you glob that on, it is not going to dry for a day.
No,
and it's going to look nasty.
Damn.
What?
No, we're just
we're just listening. This is incredible.
She globs this on, and then immediately she goes to glob on the sparkles. And then she looks at me and she goes, is that okay? And I'm like,
what?
No, man.
What?
No, it's not okay.
No.
What?
No, it does not look
Bro,
good.
what are you talking about, man?
And this is the bigger issue. How much of a language barrier was there?
It was incredible. It was incredibly bad. I tried. I am very friendly with people who English is not their first language. I try to be super communicative and nice, and 100% could not understand her. Okay,
now, how frustrating was that?
97% could not understand her.
Yeah, how frustrating was that?
It was super frustrating because I had to keep asking her. She would say things, and I could not understand it at all.
So at the end of the day, how much do you wind up paying for this pedicure?
I ended up paying $45 because I argued back because I was like, listen, she had to switch out the polish. She had to redo the flowers.
How many times did she redo the same work?
Twice for each thing.
With all due respect.
The flowers didn't turn out the way you wanted,
No,
right?
and by the time she got to the last one, she was like, she swiped on the clear coat on top and it blurred it again because she put too much freaking polish on.
How hard is it to find a good shop to do that at?
You know what? It shouldn't be this hard. And I don't know, but anyways, it was so frustrating that they just there was no way for me to be able to talk with her reasonably. And I was super frustrated by the end.
And you're way more patient than I am with that stuff. I'd have just gotten up and left.
And I
would have gotten up and left.
I don't want to have to fight for the service. Like I had to go back and forth with her, and it's like, okay, you know what? Just leave it. I'm going to leave now.
Yeah,
like
that's frustrating.
I probably should not have paid.
Shot clock violation says 20 minutes and not a goddamn thing about sports yet. You're at the end of the show. Go back to the beginning of the show.
We've been doing the show for 3 hours.
I think we spent 2.5 hours talking Knicks and Don.
Jesus.
Where we talk about life.
Giggity says shot clock, rewind to the beginning and get all the sports talk you're looking for. Exactly right. Brett Terry says don't draw conclusions based on social media.
Agreed.
Well, there you go with the Donovan Mitchell thing. I don't know. Like I think you pay more when you go to places like Mountain View Village. Because it's in a nicer neighborhood. It's a new shop. It's like, I think you should expect to pay more. But
when that service doesn't line up,
that's my point. When you pay more, are you expecting better service?
You're damn right you are.
See, I don't think you can do that anymore.
Well,
I don't think you can do that anymore.
I'd agree with you. And the thing is, we know what they're charging for their lease in that new place.
Oh, yeah.
Those shops, depending on the size that they had to probably be at least 12 to 15K a month for their lease. At least.
That's before paying your people, before anything.
So I just felt like they were rushed and like not.
Oh, that's
good.
the worst. Especially in a service thing. Like that's the worst for like massage, for chiropractics, toes, hair.
Yes.
You don't want people rushing through your balayage.
Yeah.
You don't want people rushing through your mani-pedi, like because it's not cheap anymore.
No.
It is really expensive, and labor is really expensive. And that's why I always say, hey, if you're going to charge me more, but you're going to give me a higher level of service, I'm totally good with that.
Yep.
I expect better service when I go to Ruth's Chris, when I go to Morton's, when I go to
Mastro's.
the best, Mastro's, the best steakhouses. I expect more because I'm paying more.
Yes.
So, anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, by the way, it is National S'mores Day.
All right.
Are s'mores something you only do when you're camping?
Yes.
I think they are.
They are.
I am not a backyard s'mores guy.
I will say I love a good graham cracker outside of camping. Love good graham cracker.
Are you on that marshmallow grind?
No.
Because that's the thing that matters.
No, the marshmallow, I don't eat marshmallows outside of camping.
You don't? Oh my God, I love marshmallows.
Nah.
I love.
But when we go to like a swanky hotel and they offer the s'mores, like you're in Park City or Beaver Creek, and they offer little s'mores for the fire pit outside, I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not only camping. I think it is mountain though. You have to have like that mountain.
It's got to be mountains.
You got to have the nature vibe.
Yeah.
You got to have the. Yeah.
I don't know. I am a big fan. I love marshmallow.
Yeah.
S'mores or like the chocolate covered bunny you get at Easter that's just marshmallow filling with chocolate covering on it.
I got to go s'mores, dude. I mean, if you can get like when we went to the Tetons, we built this amazing fire, like a huge fire out of the fire pit there. Yeah, that's what I said. I said we. Yeah. We built this great fire.
And really it's
roasted the marshmallows, like, the chocolate melts when you do it right. And it's just greatness, bro.
Yeah.
I don't even know. By the way, I don't even know what is a close second for camping snacks. Like, I think that takes a cake all day.
I see, and we didn't do it, but grilled cheese, camping grilled cheese. Oh my God, it is so good.
You know what I wanted to ask of our listeners, guys? Are you getting pedicures? You should be getting pedicures.
Yeah. See, Jake won't ever get.
No.
In the comments, are you somebody that gets a pedicure? I am absolutely a mani-pedi guy. Ooh, Gabe Ledley says s'mores are vastly overrated.
Damn, Gabe.
Really?
Gabe.
Wow.
And
I'm
you're
surprised
raising
by that.
children?
Yeah. What is it? Wow. And you're raising children? Giggity says you're a charred roasted marshmallow or lightly
roasted. Lightly roasted.
I am not a charred
I'm
anything.
not going full lava mode on my marshmallow.
Mm-hmm. No.
If it's just a big black briquette, no way.
No, I'm not doing that. But I don't have, as a guy, I can confidently say I don't have any trouble getting a mani-pedi. I don't mind. I have a really good barber. So I'm big on hair. I'm big on skin. I go to the chiropractor occasionally. I don't mind getting like mani-pedis. I pluck my own eyebrows. I don't mind that. None, even a little bit. I as a guy, I don't think there should be an issue.
Men, you still need to take care of yourself, and your feet need to be taken care of too.
Yeah, let's see.
Pedicure.
Boyd Lake says campfire s'mores with the kids, not much better than that.
Yeah, dude.
Right?
Yeah, for kids, I think you have to.
You got to teach your kid how to build a fire, man.
The campfire thing for kids is huge.
Yeah.
Gabe, I hope you're teaching your child how to make s'mores.
Okay. Ruff's official says, of course they get pedicures. See, why is there a stigma around that? Why is there a stigma for plucking eyebrows? Why is there a stigma for... Like, I don't understand that. Yes, I haven't gotten a manicure in I don't know how long. I have really nice nails, though. Like, I don't necessarily need... But manicures, I can't handle the bottom of the foot thing. It's just so, like, ticklish. I hate that.
Yeah.
But other than that, like getting your toes clipped, getting your feet massaged and getting your legs massaged and paraffin wax, and there's nothing wrong with that, man. I'm telling you. It is a good day to anytime you can get a mani-pedi. And trust me when I say this. If you said to your wife, hey, date night, I'm taking you for sushi and mani-pedi, you're getting laid.
Boom.
You're having marital relations.
Boom.
There is no doubt about that.
Do it.
Why do you laugh?
You're so fucked.
Why do you laugh?
Honestly,
funny, dude.
When you're in bed with her, if your talons touch her.
Bro.
Don't, because you are infamous for this. You have more than once, Mrs. Razorblade Toes over there has cut the back of my leg with her toes.
I've never cut.
Oh, absolutely you have. Now, as a man, I would never bring this up to you because I don't want you to feel insecure.
How about that?
And I do like seeding the garden occasionally, so I would never complain about your talents.
Right.
But you more than once you have done that. The other day, I think with your toe sitting upstairs, like you like, ooh, no,
Back is broken.
Anyway, let's see. Giggity says, now that I know a grinder won't cost a ton, maybe I'll get a pedi. You should. You should.
Yeah.
Giggity says, of course, Ruff's official is insecure in his masculinity.
Oh.
Truth. Michael Harris says, graham cracker dipped in milk, baby. Oh.
Okay, see, I'm out on the milk portion, but I love
good.
graham crackers.
I love it. Gabe Ledley says, Little Lope will eat half a s'mores, then quickly transition a pound and a half of marshmallows. Yes. Giggity said, Ruff's official says, Giggity getting a manicure and drinking his cat poop coffee. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Boyd Lake says, talons, get the grinder. Exactly right. Exactly right. Although I'm not, anyway, I'm telling you, there's nothing that is wrong with.
Self-care is important.
Yeah, I'm telling you, until you learn, once you do it once, I'm just telling you, once you do it once, you'll never go back. You'll never go back. Mm-hmm. It is. Mm-hmm.
Just so you can go to Pound Town.
It is remarkable. It is remarkable. We have to go.
Yeah, we have to go.
We actually have to go.
We have things we have to do.
So we're a little short on the non-sports stories today.
No, we're not. We're fine.
Yeah, I guess it's fine.
We're fine.
I probably went too far with the roadside assistance, bro.
That was funny.
I have not been mad. And now, by the way, I'm probably not going to replace my battery till after Hawaii.
Yeah.
Because I have to physically, manually labor that. Anyway, make sure you check out our friends at Wayman Brothers Construction. 801-654-1028. 801-654-1028. And a big announcement tomorrow on the show. Harris LaChance, BYU offensive lineman, begins his run. He'll be on the show every Wednesday morning. Harris LaChance will join us to talk BYU football, 8 a.m. tomorrow. Until then, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake. Okay.
Goodbye.
Okay.